Accept my power, and the world shall burn! He accepted the demon's power.
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Accepted Kyubi's Power to Destroy the Ninja World movie. Before we start, please go support Oza 137,788 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Naruto is a male. Naruto is just a child, and some villagers try to kill him to finish off the Kyubi. The biju gives the child power to defend himself, and he finishes off his enemies. Then he flees from Konoha, preparing to take revenge for all the suffering he went through. Arc Destiny. Chapter 1. The beginning of the nightmare. It was a dark and cold night where the moon was covered by clouds. A small boy of barely 6 years old ran through the streets, his heart beating out of control due to the fear that invaded him. Behind him, approached a group of very furious people blinded by anger and hatred. The little boy had blonde hair and blue eyes and a clear expression of terror and confusion on his face. He made it to a park but was too tired to keep running. He heard them approaching and saw an alley. Instinctively he went in there and hid behind a trash can. He remained completely still until a guy came in and saw him. "Here it is," said the man, warning his companions. The little boy ran as fast as he could until he reached the end of the alley which had no exit. He turned around and saw how all those people were approaching him threateningly. Completely terrified and not knowing what to do, he remained paralyzed. The man approached him until he was standing in front of him. Demon," the man said, kicking the helpless boy hard. He fell to the ground with a trickle of blood coming out of his mouth. Other people joined him and began to kick and hit the blonde wildly and indiscriminately. He was alone on the ground receiving the blows, crying and throwing blood from his mouth because of the blows that were causing internal injuries throughout his small body. Finally he stopped moving and they continued hitting him. The boy only had one eye open and it was almost closing. The brightness of his eye was fading away, implying that he was almost dead. "We're finally done with this garbage," said a man, very pleased, as he spat at the child. "I don't understand why the third one let him live, but at least we won't have to see him again," said a man, pulling out a sword and approaching to deliver the final blow to the boy. The blonde wasn't thinking about anything. A few seconds ago he had stopped feeling pain. He didn't understand who those people were and why they wanted to hurt him, but it didn't matter anymore. He knew he was going to die when he saw the sword. "You want to live," said a sinister voice inside his head. "Who are you?" the boy thought, agonizingly. "Someone who wants to help you," the voice said. "How?" the boy thought, a little intrigued. At one point the little boy saw himself without any wounds in a very dark place. In the distance he saw a huge cage and inside it a huge fox with 9 waving tails staring at him. "Come closer, Naruto," said the fox very seriously. "Who are you?" Naruto said, slowly approaching. "I am Kyubi, or the 9-tailed fox. You can call me whatever you want," said Kyubi very calmly. "Where are we?" Naruto said, very confused. "In your mind, the useless 4th Hokage couldn't defeat me, so he sealed me in the body of a child, his own son. It's because of me that all those people want to kill you," said Kyubi very seriously. "My father was the 4th Hokage. I don't understand, is it his fault that everyone hates me? Why did he seal you inside me?" Naruto said, very annoyed, to which the demon smiled. "I can give you the explanation to your questions another time. I imagine that you want to live. I can give you a new life. If you want to live you will do what I say, understood?" said the Kyubi very seriously, looking at the boy. "Yes," Naruto said, a little confused. "Come here and touch me," said Kyubi, sticking a claw through the bars as the boy approached him. The man stood in front of the boy and raised his sword. The blonde closed his eye, and when he opened it, it was a very dark red. A large amount of energy began to come out of his body, healing all his wounds. Everyone was very intrigued by what was happening until they saw how Naruto got up and seemed to have no damage. The marks on his cheeks were more visible. In addition to his red eyes that shone in the darkness, his fangs lengthened and his nails lengthened until they became like claws. He took a step forward, approaching his pursuers. Screams of agony and pleading could be heard everywhere, but when the first person reached the spot, he could only see the mangled bodies of at least 30 villagers scattered throughout the alleyway, which was painted red with their blood. Far from there in the forest, Naruto was still with red eyes watching the dawn. "We must leave this place," said Kyubi in the boy's mind. "Where to?" Naruto said in his mind. "That does end apostrophe T matter now. We will travel the world, we will go everywhere, we will meet many people, and above all, you will become very strong, and then we will return to this place and destroy them. Do not have mercy on them. No one has ever treated you well in this place, not even that old Hokage. He sees you as if you were a nuisance. It is not your fault of anything, and they have mistreated you all your life. It is time for you to take revenge," said Kyubi very seriously. "Okay," Naruto said, a little seriously and very sad. The blonde gathered a good amount of chakra in his feet and went out at full speed through the forest. He reached the gigantic wall and jumped over it, as if it were nothing. Without anyone seeing him, he continued on his way at an unattainable speed. He had no idea where he was going to go. He just wanted to get away from the village where he was born and where he had suffered so much. Only one idea ran through his mind. To survive and take revenge one day for all the suffering and pain he had been through. While that was happening in the village, the Hokage was in his office reviewing the reports of the massacre that occurred in that alley at dawn. There were no witnesses except for one who said he saw a child running near that place, but it was so dark that he couldn't make him out very well. At that moment an Anbu enters the office, calling the attention of his leader. Just as you said, sir, the boy Uzumaki Naruto was not at home. In fact, the apartment door was destroyed and it looked like there had been a fight because the house was in such a mess. Said Anbu, very seriously. Find him immediately and bring him back to me safe and sound. I hope my suspicions are wrong and what I fear hasn't happened, Sarutobi said very seriously. Right away, said the Anbu, leaving the room with a group of 6 other Anbus. Please let me be wrong, that they weren't so stupid as to try to kill Naruto and that he had to defend himself. Sarutobi thought very seriously. He got up from his chair and looked out the window, watching as Konoha woke up and all its inhabitants went out to do their daily routines, but with the news of the multiple murders running everywhere. I promised your father that I would take care of you, and I hope it's not too late, and I haven't broken my promise, only God knows what would happen if Naruto actually killed those people and fled the village. Sarutobi thought very seriously. Far away from the village and passing several mountains, Naruto was running at full speed following no particular path. Keep running, when we are far enough away from this place you will begin to train under my leadership, from today your life will never be the same. Said Kyubi very calmly. I hope so, Naruto said a little seriously. Just never forget that you owe me your life and you have to obey me. Said Kyubi very seriously. Yes, master, I will do everything you order. Said Naruto very seriously. Chapter 2. Dark Destiny. Chapter 2. The Messenger of Death. Exactly 20 years have passed since Konoha was attacked by the terrible Kyubi, and since the 4th Hokage sacrificed himself to defeat it. During all that time many things happened in the village and in the ninja world. The massacre of the Uchiha clan at the hands of one of its members, of which only one survivor remained, the formation of a group called Akatsuki of which much was unknown, but what was known was that it was made up of very high-level ninjas, the appearance and almost immediate disappearance of a new ninja village that called itself Atagakur no Sado, Hidden Village of Sound, and that was completely devastated. The murder of its leader and the vast majority of its ninjas completely wiped out the village. In addition to the alliance of Sunagakur no Sado, Hidden Sand Village, Iwagakur no Sado, Hidden Rock Village, Kumagakur no Sado, Hidden Cloud Village, and Kurigakur no Sado, Hidden Mist Village, against Konoha, this village was on edge, expecting an attack at any moment, but with the appearance of Akatsuki, all the villages had a tenuous peace against this new enemy. The new Hokage of Konoha Tsunade and the previous Hokage, along with the most important members of the council, discussed daily about the impending war. The group of ninjas from Konoha were investigating some news regarding Akatsuki. The ninjas who had gone were a man who had a mask and had one eye covered with the protector, a pink-haired girl with a red outfit, a black-haired young man with a blue shirt and black pants, as well as a red-haired boy with a white shirt and black pants. In the middle of the road they met 2 members of the Akatsuki, Kakuzu and Haiden. The battle was hard and fierce on the part of the Konoha ninjas, but they did not manage to do much damage to their enemies. They were lying on the ground very tired, having already used their best techniques which had not been effective. I can't believe how strong they are, said the gray-haired masked man. Kakashi-sensei, what do we do now? Said the Redeed. I don't know Naoda, I don't know. Said Kakashi very seriously. Sasuke-kun, please wake up. Said the girl with short pink hair, trying to wake the black-haired boy who was unconscious from a blow he received from the owner of the scythe. Sakura, calm down, we have to think about how we're going to escape, Kakashi said, looking at the girl. The Akatsuki members laughed at the pathetic spectacle they thought the ninjas they had just faced had just made. Neither group had noticed that on the branch of a tree was a figure covered by a black tunic that covered him completely. The breeze moved his cape revealing thick black boots with metal tips, black pants with knee pads, on the belt was a sword, a long-sleeved black shirt under a black ninja vest that had some scrolls and kunes. On his elbows he had protectors, and the gloves showed the tips of his fingers and his nails that looked more like sharp claws, which was the only part of his body visible. The cape was attached at his shoulders by a button, and the tunic covered his head up to his nose, and a mask underneath it covered his face hiding his identity. The mysterious spectator had been watching the battle for a while, and had seen enough jump until he was close to the 2 renegade ninjas, who were startled to see him. Who are you? Haiden said upon seeing the newcomer. The last person Sasori, Dodara and Zetsu saw, the visitor said, and from his voice, they realized he was a young man. What do you mean? Kakuzu said, getting into a battle stance. The masked youth took 2 rings out of his pocket and showed them to the renegade ninjas. I miss Sasori's, but someone took it when I wasn't looking, said the hooded man. You seem strong, Hayden said very seriously. I don't know if I'm strong, but I hope you'll be more of a challenge than your 3 classmates, who weren't much of a challenge, the young man said in a calm tone of voice. The copy ninja and his team watched and listened to the conversation between the 3 characters. The jonin was very surprised by what he heard and tried to get up along with his students who had already regained strength and were standing up. Kakashi-sensei, who is that? Sasuke said, seeing the mysterious figure in front of the 2 renegades. I don't know, but I think he came to kill those 2, Kakashi said very seriously. He must be crazy, Naoda said very seriously. The 2 Akatsuki members looked at each other and this Hayden took a step forward. Let's see how strong you are, Hayden said as he prepared to attack. From one moment to the next the blonde disappeared and appeared behind the Akatsuki with his sword unsheathed. The renegade's body fell mutilated to the ground before the attentive gaze of everyone who could not see anything. You're a bastard, but you failed because I can't die, said Hayden, who was just a talking head at the moment. That's what you think, said the young man, grabbing the immortal ninja's head. The hooded man created a seal with one of his hands and placed it on the forehead of the renegade ninja, whose eyes shone as he screamed and then remained still and silent. Then he approached the Akatsuki's hand and removed the ring, then put it away and took out a bag and put his head inside. He turned to see the other renegade who couldn't believe what he had seen. You're missing, the young man said with the same calmness and coldness with which he spoke when he arrived. You're a bastard, Kakuzu said, launching himself at his mysterious opponent. The young man quickly raised one of his hands and concentrated a large amount of chakra in it and gave such a powerful blow to his enemy's chest that he shattered him, destroying all his hearts, leaving only a few parts of his body intact, such as his head, arms, and legs. The masked man kept the head and the child, while the Konoha ninjas watched him in astonishment. I can't believe it, Naoda said, very surprised. I've never seen someone with so much power, Sasuke said, quite impressed. I wonder who it is. Sakura said very nervously. Stay here, Kakashi said, approaching the hooded youth. He didn't even pay attention to him and went to pick up the immortal's weapon. Who are you? Kakashi said, trying to sound friendly. The young man looked at the ninja and recognized him. I'm a mercenary hired to exterminate the Akatsuki organization, the young man said, starting to walk away. The copy ninja said nothing more and watched as the young man walked away from the place. His students approached him and watched as their mysterious savior disappeared among the trees. Who could it be? Sakura said, a little nervous as she saw the pieces left behind by the Akatsuki members. I don't know, but we should inform Tsunade-sama, Kakashi said as his team headed toward their village. The 4 ninjas jumped from branch to branch while the masked man went to deliver the heads of his victims, as well as their rings. Why didn't you kill them? A sinister voice said inside the hooded man's mind. That guy helped me once, and that's why I didn't do it. Don't worry, the next time I see them, I'll kill them, the boy said, answering his inner voice. I hope so, Naruto. You can't forget that we have to destroy that village, said the owner of the voice very seriously. Calm down, Kyubi-sama, remember your words, revenge is a dish best eaten cold, besides we have to finish off those idiots from Akatsuki first, said Naruto very calmly. That's true, well, hurry up, we have to take out 4 more, said Kyubi very seriously. Whatever you say, Naruto said smiling as he began to run at an overwhelming speed. Quickly and lightning fast he disappeared to deliver his cargo and go for his next targets which he wanted to eliminate and thus be able to concentrate on his main objective, the complete and total destruction of Konoha, along with all its inhabitants. Chapter 3. Dark Destiny. Chapter 3. In search of a new ally. Kakashi and his team were speeding back to their village to tell about the mysterious mercenary who easily took out 2 Akatsuki members without any difficulty. During the walk everyone was very quiet until Sakura decided to ask something she had been thinking about for a while. Kakashi-sensei, what did that guy do to hide in the immortal? Sakura said very seriously. That technique he used is a soul seal, with it you can seal or destroy anyone's soul, from what I saw he destroyed Haiden's soul, thus finishing him off, said Kakashi without looking at the girl. What surprised me was that he killed 2 S-class ninjas without any effort. They are supposed to be very strong and virtually invincible. I heard that they killed more than 200 ninjas by themselves, as if it were a game, and now this guy came and killed them as if they were nothing more than ordinary people. Naoda said a little nervously. What I think is that Kakashi-sensei knows him somehow, Sasuke said, a little thoughtfully. What do you mean? Kakashi said, looking at the black-haired man. When you approached him, I could see that for a second he stared at you and then went back to behaving normally, but the way he held his body during that moment was as if he recognized you from something," said Sasuke very seriously. "Yeah, I noticed that too, but without seeing his face it's impossible to tell who he was. Let's speed up and get to the village quickly," Kakashi said, very seriously, moving faster. After several hours they arrived at the village, delivered the report explaining in detail their encounter with the two Akatsuki members, the arrival of the mercenary and what he said. They went to rest while the council, the new Hokage and his predecessor discussed the matter. After a few days they were summoned to the Hokage Tower where the council members, the Hokage and his assistant, the former Hokage, the clan leaders and several elite ninjas, Ambus and others were gathered. The current Hokage, who was a young-looking woman with blonde hair and a very voluptuous body, stood up from her position and went to a platform to speak. A few days ago, Kakashi Haddock and his team encountered two members of the Akatsuki. Despite fighting them, they lost, but before they were killed, a person appeared and saved them. "This person is a mercenary and quickly and lethally finished off the two rogue ninjas," said Tsunade, looking at those present very seriously. Each of the spectators was very impressed by the story and listened attentively to everything their leader said. "After I received the information, I sent a group to talk to the cages, and I found out that it was the Mizukage who hired this mercenary, a renegade ninja from that village known to all as Uzumaki was the one who spoke to the Mizukage and told him about this boy," said Tsunade very seriously. "If I remember correctly, Zabuza is a rogue ninja who had a bounty on him," Kakashi said very seriously. "That was true, but it seems he is now part of a group that calls itself Shy no Cage, Shadow of Death, where he has now apologized to his village and was exonerated from his positions in exchange for his services. It seems the leader of this group is none other than the mercenary who finished off the Akatsuki," said Tsunade very seriously. "What other ninjas are in that group?" Sarutobi said very seriously. "Well, apparently and according to the information we have, they are several renegade or exiled ninjas from different villages, all of them were recruited by their leader, and they blindly follow him. They also have as a base the country of Waves where, as you all know, there are many refugees who are going there because of the upcoming war," said Tsunade looking at her former master. "What do we know about this leader?" Kakashi said very seriously. "That's the reason why I called you, especially you, teacher, and you, Kakashi," said Tsunade, a little worried. "Explain yourself," said Sarutobi's elderly companion. "The name of the leader is Naruto Uzumaki, son of the deceased Minato Namikaze, former 4th Hokage in Jinchuriki of Kyubi, the fearsome nine-tailed fox, who disappeared from this village 14 years ago," said Tsunade very seriously, looking at everyone, especially her ex-sensei. Everyone in the room was stunned by this comment and slowly began to react. "It's true what you say, Tsunade, Naruto is alive," said Sarutobi very agitated with emotion. "That's what the Mizukage told us," Tsunade said very seriously. "If that's true, we must bring that boy back to the village. He has a lot to explain," the old woman said very seriously. "That's true, and he should be tried as a traitor and a renegade ninja," said a man on the council, very annoyed. "I don't think that's possible," Kakashi said thoughtfully. "What do you mean?" the man said, looking at the copy ninja with great anger. "Well, if he is really Naruto, he is not a rogue ninja, much less a traitor. He disappeared before graduating as a ninja. In fact, he was barely enrolled in the academy. He would still be considered a civilian, so he is not restricted from leaving Konoha, nor is he prohibited from living in another country. Also, given his strength, I fear it would be impossible for us to confront him, since if we do, he would be one more enemy who would turn against us, and I must remind you that we are in danger of attack from the other 4 ninja villages," said Kakashi very seriously. "Kakashi is right about that, so I have an idea that might be helpful," Tsunade said, a little serious but nervous. "Which one?" Sarutobi said, looking at his successor. "We could ask him to join Konoha," Tsunade said, very nervous and waiting for the group's response. At that moment a great deal of shouting and insults were heard throughout the room. "That boy is a monster, we should have eliminated him when he was born, and you're thinking of asking him to join us," said the council member, furious. "Calm down Kaoru-san, the boy is not a monster, he is only the container of the Kyubi. Those kinds of thoughts were what made that boy leave the village a long time ago, because of the mistreatment he received from many people," said a man with wide eyes and black hair. "But Hiashi-sama, you're not thinking of considering the idea of Uzumaki returning to this village," Kaoru said very indignantly. "Think about it, Uzumaki Naruto apparently has great strength, if we can get him on our side, we might have a chance of surviving the war," said Hiashi very seriously. Not only to survive but to win. It seems that all the cages are afraid of the boy since they have made proposals to join them, but he has rejected them. That is why they gave us the information, since they do not believe that he wants to join us. In addition to this, his group is a great organization that compares to Akatsuki. He does not seem to have any kind of favoritism for any village in particular, and that could help us. This was once his home. If we offer him something that the other villages have not done, we could get him to join us. Remember that he has Kyubi inside him, and this is the most powerful biju of all, and that not even the 8 of them together can defeat him," said Tsunade very seriously. "You're right about that. I don't think it'll be that hard to convince him to return to the village," Hiashi said, a little confidently. At that moment, a black-haired man with a bandaged face enters the room. "Tsunade-sama," a message came from the Mizukage. They found the Akatsuki hideout and their mercenary went there. "It's near the border of the Land of Fire. He asked for support if necessary," said the man, very agitated. "Understood. Who's willing to go over there?" Tsunade said, looking at the audience very seriously. "Me and my team," Kakashi said, looking at the blonde with his only visible eye. "Mine's going too," said a black-haired man in a tight-fitting green suit. And so a team of several ninjas of various levels and more than 50 ambus were organized, which went out at full speed towards the place where they had reported that the hideout of the fearsome Akatsuki organization, the most dangerous and feared criminals in the ninja world, was. Chapter 4. Dark Destiny. Chapter 4. Encounters. An hour before the Konoha ninjas left, near the border of the country of fire and earth, a silhouette completely covered by a black robe and a black suit advanced, quickly jumping from tree to tree. It continued like this for several more minutes, until it reached a mountain where there was a cave. Outside of this and around it were a group of ninjas dressed in black and without any protector on their foreheads, who were guarding the area. The hooded young man moved very quickly and drew his sword, and before the guards realized it, they were killed in a matter of seconds, and without making a noise, he walked slowly and entered the cave and could hear some voices coming from inside the grotto. "I can't believe we're in this situation," said a very annoyed man. "Calm down, kiss him. Those 5 were just trash. We must find the one hunting us and kill him immediately." Another, younger man, sounded calmer than his companion. "I agree with Itachi on that. We only know that he was hired by the Mizukage. He must know who it was. Let's go after him and force him to tell us," a female voice said next to them. "I agree with what you're saying. It's best to act quickly before it's too late," said the voice of another man, but he sounded like the leader of the group, given the authority emanating from his voice. "As you command, Pain-sama," Itachi said in a respectful tone. A young man arrived at the place, drawing the attention of those present. Those who were there were a blue-haired woman with a flower in her ear, a tall man with a large bandaged sword and who had blue skin and looked like a shark, a smaller man than the shark-like man who had black hair and looked quite young. Another man with almost brown-red hair who had many earrings in his ears and in various parts of his face, and finally a man with a spiral-shaped mask that had his right eye as the center. "I thought there were only 4 left." "I see I was wrong," said the hooded young man. "I'm just passing through," said the masked man as the blue-haired girl, the shark man, and the black-haired man surrounded the newcomer. "How strange," Kyubi said inside the young man's mind. "What are you talking about?" Naruto said in his mind. "That voice, that chakra, I know it, that's the cursed Madara's," said Kyubi, very annoyed. "Wasn't that the one who betrayed you?" Naruto said, waiting for his partner's response. "That's right, kill him and make him suffer a lot," said Kyubi very furiously. "As you wish," said Naruto, preparing for combat. "I don't know who you are, but you must be really stupid to come here alone," Kisame said, preparing his weapon. "I guess that remains to be seen," Naruto said, disappearing from the scene. Everyone began to look for him with their eyes, and Kisame saw how the hooded man appeared above him with his sword unsheathed. The blue-skinned man raised his weapon and blocked the lethal attack, but the young man turned and kicked his opponent's weapon extremely hard, bringing it down, and then created a sphere of energy in his right hand, which impacted the shark's face, sending it against a wall, leaving a large mark. "You're mine," Itachi said, looking at his opponent while performing his supreme technique. The black-haired man's eyes turned red and had a spiral in them. "Tsukiyomi," Itachi said, looking at the young man. Naruto then makes some seals with his hands, rendering the attack useless. "How the hell did you do that?" said Itachi, very annoyed. "I don't fall for Jinjutsus or Dojutsus," Naruto said very calmly. "Well then, die, Amaterasu," Itachi said, launching a great wave of black flames that hit the hooded man at high speed. The fire surrounds the young man and covers him completely, but to everyone's surprise, it doesn't seem to affect him, and all the fire accumulates in his hand, creating a large ball of black fire which the hooded man throws to the ground. Everyone jumps, dodging the flames, but the blue-haired girl doesn't realize that the young man is behind her. "Katana no Kage, Kato Aori, Shadow Sword, Final Cut." Naruto said with the sword in his hand. She turned around and saw how his sword turned black, and with a quick movement on his part, the woman was completely torn apart in clean cuts, and without a drop of blood coming out of the wounds, since all her wounds had been closed, as if they had been burned by the same sword. At that moment the boy disappeared and appeared behind the older Uchiha, who turned around and was decapitated in the same way as his partner. Kisame stood up and grabbed his sword. Totally blinded by anger and frustration, he launched himself against the young man who only gathered chakra in his weapon and threw a cutting sling with it, which cut the Akatsuki in half and left a large cut in the wall that was behind him. The two remaining Akatsukas were very impressed with the strength of the young man, who in a matter of just over 10 seconds, easily finished off 2 of their 3 members. "I see you're strong. What's your name?" the red-haired young man said, looking at the hooded man, who was putting the heads and rings of the 3 corpses into a bag. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki of Kyubi," said Naruto while with one of his nails he cut one of his fingers and called a small fox, to which he gave the bag with the heads, and that ran away immediately, leaving the 3 alone. "Now I understand why you're so strong, but you've saved us the trouble of searching for you. I'm going to kill you right now," Pain said as a rock moved and 6 more men appeared, all of whom had the same eyes and Akatsuki outfits. "Don't kill him, let's take his beast first," said the masked man. "Interesting, the leader isn't the leader and is just someone else's second in command. At least you seem strong," Naruto said very calmly. "You're a bit conceited, you know," Pain and the other 6 men said at the same time. "What the heck?" Naruto thought, a little surprised. "Don't worry, that's a special Jujutsu that allows him to put parts of his soul into people he kills, and thus he can use their abilities. In addition, each of them is connected to the others, it's as if they were all actually one," said Kyubi very seriously. "Awesome," Naruto said to his inner voice. "I know, that's why don't underestimate him, attack him quickly and with all your strength, once we finish him we'll deal with the other one," said Kyubi, a little annoyed. "As you wish," Naruto said, looking at the men surrounding him, who weren't missing a single detail of what he was doing. At that moment the hooded man created 6 shadow clones, and each one launched itself against one of its opponents. The battle was becoming very intense, each one of them fought against the other, launching attacks of a great variety of elements. Toby just watched the battle as if it were a spectacle. One by one the bodies fell until only the original remained, which had several wounds and burns, and his opponent had disappeared as clones and was barely noticeably agitated, while Pain could barely breathe. "You're very strong," Pain said, very tired. "You too," Naruto said as he concentrated a large amount of chakra into his right hand. The chakra was blue and red until it began to spin, turning purple and spinning at impressive speeds, turning into a kind of large chakra shuriken, which it threw at a wall, destroying a statue with 9 holes that was hidden in the wall by a Jinjutsu. "Without that, they won't be able to extract anyone's beasts," Naruto said calmly. "How do you know that?" Toby said very seriously. "Who do you think prevented them from capturing all the Jinchurikis? Kyubi told me that you were obsessed with possessing supreme power and that you wanted the power of all the bijus. Over time he understood your plan," Naruto said very calmly. "Damn fox," said Toby, very annoyed. "You shouldn't have betrayed him. Sending him to Konoha to weaken it and make it easier for you to seize power was a somewhat good idea, but you didn't count on the 4th Hokage managing to defeat him by sealing him in a child," Naruto said, a little serious but with some resentment. "You're smart, kid, too smart. You just destroyed a plan I've had for years. I don't need you anymore," Toby said as he threw a small sphere near the young man. The sphere exploded into green smoke and the young man fell to his knees on the ground as he breathed it in. "What's happening to me?" Naruto said, feeling his body rapidly losing energy. "I like the garbage you are," Toby said as he in pain sped out of the place before the smoke could reach them. In the cave the young man was kneeling, feeling pain from within, and saw how the bodies of the dead Akatsukas decomposed at a very high speed because of the strange smoke. "Kyubi, what's going on?" Naruto said in his mind, struggling to breathe. "It's a very deadly poison, we have to get out of here before it's too late," said Kyubi, very worried. The young man got up as best he could and tried to leave the cave, but with each step he took, the pain and fatigue increased and he couldn't stand it any longer, fainting a few meters from the exit. An hour later the group of Konoha ninjas arrived at the area and began to search the surroundings. They found nothing until a young man with black hair standing on tiptoe and with 2 marks on his cheeks, who was next to a large white dog, detected a very unusual smell. "What is this plague?" the young man said, a little dizzy. "What's wrong, Kiba?" said a very beautiful woman with black hair and red eyes approaching him. "Kurenai-sensei, I smell a very strong odor, it's like poison or something, coming from that direction," Kiba said, pointing toward a mountain. They gave the signal to their companions to follow them and they reached a cave from which green smoke was coming out. "No one is to come near this place," Kakashi said very seriously. "What's wrong?" Naoto said, very confused. That's a very potent poison, some ninjas use it to kill opponents they can't defeat, that poison enters the body, and almost immediately you begin to lose chakra, within a few seconds your internal organs begin to explode, and you rot from the inside out, and all of that with great pain, no one survives more than a minute after being exposed to that. Said Sakura very seriously. I see the training you've done with Tsunade-sama has been beneficial, Kakashi said, very proud of his student. There's someone in there, Kiba said, to which everyone stared. What are you saying? That's impossible, Sakura said, very seriously. I can hear someone's heartbeat in there, it's faint, but they're still alive, Kiba said, very seriously, looking at the cave. Sasuke approached the cave and saw a silhouette lying on the ground, covered by a black robe. He's the mercenary, Sasuke said, looking at his master very seriously. We have to get him out right away, Kakashi said, a little worried. Sasuke jumped into the air and threw several threads that wrapped around the hooded man's hand and with great force pulled him out of the cave. Naruto's body fell to the ground and rolled around on the ground several times and stopped, lying face up. Some ninjas approached him to check his condition, among them were Sakura and a young woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. They removed the top of his robe revealing blonde hair, a protector on his forehead that did not have any symbol of any village, his eyes were closed, and from the nose to his neck, he was covered by a mask like that of the copy ninja. They lowered it and saw some marks on his cheek similar to whiskers, and from his mouth half open, due to the difficulty of breathing, some very sharp fangs could be seen. He really does look like his father, Kakashi said, looking at the young man's face. The girls examined it and looked at each other very worriedly. How are you? Said Kakashi very seriously. Very serious, he should have died, but he's still alive, we must take him to Tsunade-sama immediately to see if she can do something. Said Sakura very frustrated. It's true, the only thing we can do is stabilize him until we get to Konoha, only if he doesn't get worse, the blonde said, very worried. Thanks Ino, do what you can, let's go, we have to get to Konoha immediately. Said Kakashi very seriously looking at the entire group of ninjas. An Anbu approached and created a wooden stretcher. Very carefully they lifted the blonde and carried him between two ninjas and went on their way to Konoha, while another group began to pour water into the cave. The smoke disappeared, and upon entering they saw the bodies of several people in a high degree of decomposition. The Akatsuki sword that was still in the cave rose from the ground, and to the astonishment of those who were there, it sped out of the cave following the blonde. Reached him and placed itself on him before the attentive gaze of everyone. The ninja tried to take the sword, but as soon as he touched it he was repelled by a layer of chakra around the weapon, and they left it on the young man. Little by little they arrived at Konoha to try to save the life of the young man who they hoped would be an ally in the imminent war that was coming. Chapter 5. Arc Destiny. Chapter 5. Arrival in Konoha. Very close to the Great Wall of Konoha there was a group of ninjas from this village, with a young blonde man lying on a wooden stretcher, who was unconscious and in very bad condition. Next to him were two medical ninjas who were a pink-haired girl and a blonde. Both did what they could to cure the young man, but he was weakening very quickly and did not improve at all. The young Ritide, Sakura and Kakashi's teammate, approached his sensei because he was very curious about the sword that suddenly flew in and stayed next to the blonde, not allowing anyone to touch it. Kakashi-sensei, what is that sword? Naoto said a little confused. That sword is called Samahata, it was Kisame's sword, it's made of shark scales and has the ability to steal chakra, it's very dangerous, and it's also alive, it's sure that Kisame is dead, and the sword has now chosen Naruto as its new owner. Said Kakashi very seriously. Impressive, Naoto said upon seeing the sword. After a few minutes they arrived at the gate of Konoha, they entered, and without wasting time they went to the hospital. Along the way many villagers looked at the arriving group and were amazed to see the blonde on the stretcher. Many of them were in a state of shock when they recognized him and did not recover until several minutes later. At the hospital, Naruto was left in the emergency room, while a group that had gone to look for Tsunade and her assistant Shizune returned with them. Upon learning what had happened, they, along with Sakura, Ino and a group of medical ninjas, entered the room and began to treat the young man. For some unknown reason, the blonde's organs were intact and the poison was gathered in his chest, so they only had to extract it. When they finished removing the poison, they noticed how the young man was breathing better and no longer suffered any pain. They took him to a very comfortable room where a nurse changed his clothes for more comfortable ones and took them to be disinfected in case there were any residues of the deadly poison left. As if it were gunpowder, the news of Naruto Uzumaki's return to Konoha spread at an apocalyptic speed. Everyone in the streets was talking about it, and the Konoha Council, along with clan leaders, important members of the village, and several respected ninjas, held an emergency meeting to discuss the current situation. "Tsunade, how is Naruto?" said Sarutobi very worried. He's stable, in fact, I'm surprised he's still alive since that poison would kill anyone in no more than a minute and he was exposed to it for a long time, I must admit his resistance is overwhelming. Tsunade said very impressed. How could it not be overwhelming if it's a demon? Now that it's weak is the best time to act. We can kill it safely, said a man with black hair and a few gray strands, which showed he wasn't very young. Kaoru-san, remember we need you alive, not dead. Said the old council member. That's true. From now on, we must find a way to convince him to join us and help us in this war, Hiashi said thoughtfully. From what I see, he's going to remain unconscious for at least a week, so during this time we must find a good strategy to get him to join this village, Tsunade said very seriously. Maybe everyone went crazy, remember that when he disappeared there was a huge murder, 30 villagers were killed, and a witness says he saw a child running away from the place, the child's house was in pieces, and mysteriously that boy disappeared, it's obvious that he killed them like the bloodthirsty monster that he is. Said Kaoru very annoyed. Kaoru-san, I know that you lost your family in the battle with the Kyubi, but that does not mean you can turn against Uzumaki, remember that he is the jailer of that monster, not the creature itself, furthermore, we are not sure what happened that day, and as members of the council our actions and decisions must be based on solid facts and not mere assumptions. The boy is our last chance to survive the impending war, and if you are going to continue asking for his execution, I will ask you to leave the room, we need solutions not more problems. Said Hiashi very seriously and with his eyes closed. The black-haired man remained silent while the others talked among themselves and looked for solutions on the subject of Naruto. In the end they ended up with several options, one was that since he was a mercenary for hire, they would hire him for his protection during the war, another was to offer him some land to settle on, a position on the council, marry a girl from some clan, so he would have a family and other proposals. It had been almost 3 days since the blonde had returned to Konoha, and he still hadn't woken up even though his body was almost recovered, he only had a slight fever, but it was nothing serious. In the room where he was were Tsunade, Sarutobi and Hiashi Hyuga watching his recovery. At that moment a young woman with completely wide eyes like the leader of the Hyuga clan entered the room, she was wearing a typical nurse's outfit, only with a very long gown that hid her body a lot. When she saw Hiashi she lowered her head and approached the blonde. She reached him and very carefully removed the cloth he had on his forehead and placed another one on him to lower his temperature. From the rubbing, he began to wake up and turned his head to see who was touching him. She was startled to see him move and was perplexed to see how he lazily opened his eyes. He opened his eyes slowly and little by little, he began to get used to the light and saw a beautiful young woman in front of him. Her hair was dark blue with black, her eyes were completely wide and pure, she had an innocent expression on her face, as if she were a deity. Meanwhile she was very dismayed to see his eyes, they were a very deep dark red, and the expression he had on his face, as if he were recording it in his mind, made her feel nervous. Seeing those eyes was very strange, they were scary, but at the same time they were warm. "Are you an angel?" Naruto said in a dreamy tone of voice, causing the girl to blush like never before in her life. She was speechless at the comment and couldn't even move until a small knock on the wall made her react, just like the blonde who looked at the place where he had heard the knock. In that place the blonde saw a very beautiful blonde woman, a black-haired man who looked at him fixedly and who had eyes just like the girl's, and an old man who he recognized immediately. That's the third Hokage's elder, that just means I'm in Konoha. Naruto thought, very surprised. Sarutobi approached slowly and to the blonde's astonishment hugged him, while tears flowed from his elderly face. "You don't know how happy I am that you're alive. I've been so worried about you since you disappeared," Sarutobi said, still crying. "Really?" said Naruto very surprised. At that moment the wide-eyed girl left the room without disturbing anyone, under the cold gaze of the man, the somewhat curious gaze of the blonde, and the unusual eyes of the blonde who followed her with his gaze until she disappeared. She continued walking down the hallway with her cheeks red, her breathing very labored, and her heart beating out of control just from the comment and the look that young man had given her. While she tried to calm down, he was very surprised to have woken up in what was, for him, hell, and because he was being hugged by one of the few people in that place who had treated him like a human being and not a demon. Only a small group of people, whom he could count on one of his hands and who had fingers left over, were those who had treated him well and were the only ones with whom he had good memories of that place he hated so much. The old man separated from him and looked at him closely and was surprised by how much that innocent child had changed. Nothing remained of him, before him was the imposing presence of a being that transmitted fear and respect to whoever saw him. His eyes showed a contained hatred, but also an enormous sadness. "I see you've changed a lot, you look very strong now," Sarutobi said, a little seriously. "I had to become strong to survive," Naruto said very seriously. "Why did you leave Konoha?" Sarutobi said very seriously, since that question had been torturing him day after day for 14 years. I don't think you want to know, it wasn't pleasant at all, Naruto said, closing his eyes. Was it that bad? Sarutobi said very seriously. See for yourself, Naruto said as he created a sphere of yellow energy that turned solid and became like a crystal ball. The former third Hokage took the crystal ball in his hands and looked at it closely as images formed in them. I'm warning you, you probably won't like what you see, Naruto said, closing his eyes. Tsunade and Hiashi approached the old man to see the images. A few minutes later they all fell to their knees on the floor, while the images repeated themselves over and over again in their minds. Sarutobi cried inconsolably, while the leader of the Hyuga clan was very agitated and scared, and the blonde tried to contain the urge to vomit from what she had seen in the boy's memories. She took the crystal ball and got up. She left the room with the two men, leaving the young man to continue resting. None of them were able to look the Jinchuriki in the face, they couldn't believe what they had seen, the hopes that he would join them had vanished when they saw everything Naruto had been through from what he remembered until the moment he left Konoha. They only thought about one thing. Showing those images to the entire town and showing them all the pain they had caused to a defenseless child. Chapter 6. Dark Destiny. Chapter 6. Painful Memories. Once the blonde was alone in the room, he settled into bed to rest since he felt very weak. Kyubi-sama. Naruto said in his mind. The young man was surprised not to hear his companion respond. Kyubi-sama. Naruto said again but without any success. He concentrated more and entered his mind, there he saw the fox sleeping in the middle of the darkness, he approached it and touched it, moving it a little, but without managing to wake it up. How strange, what's wrong with him? Naruto said a little worried. He came out of his mind and found himself back in the hospital room, making an effort he got up from his bed and looked out the window, from there he saw the mountain where the faces of the Hokages were and looked at them one by one, he saw the face of the fourth and a glow of hatred flooded his being, then he saw the face of the fifth and realized that it was the same woman who had been in the room minutes before. I've seen that woman before, Naruto thought, a little hesitantly. I try to remember until I finally remember where I had seen her. This is Tsunade, the partner of the perverted Jiraiya and the useless Orochimaru, Naruto thought, remembering the woman's face. How strange, if she's their age she should be an old woman, Naruto said thoughtfully, considering the woman's appearance. Without paying any more attention to that matter, he fell asleep to recover enough energy to be able to leave that place as quickly as possible. At least an hour later, in the great square of Konoha, were the members of the council, the leaders of the clans, and in front of them, the majority of the villagers of the village, who were summoned by the fifth Hokage for an emergency meeting that concerned them all. I have sent for all of you because I have evidence of a great injustice that occurred in this village several years ago. It pains me greatly to say that these crimes were committed by a large part of this village against an innocent, a small child who for years was mistreated, beaten, and insulted unjustifiably by many of you. Tsunade said, very indignant, staring at everyone present. Everyone there listened to what their leader was telling them and tried to understand what they were saying. What I'm going to show you next are the memories of Naruto Uzumaki, a young man who lived in this village until 14 years ago and then disappeared. He is the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi. In him is locked the soul of the fearsome nine-tailed fox that attacked this village 20 years ago. As some of you know, the fourth Hokage sealed the soul of this demon in the body of a newborn. This child grew up being hated by everyone because they saw in him the monster that wiped out their families. Said Tsunade very seriously while everyone spoke in low voices among themselves. At that moment Hiashi approached the blonde and spoke. You know we're in danger from an imminent attack by the other ninja villages. Our last hope was in getting him to support us in this war, but from what we can see, it will be very difficult to achieve this, Hiashi said very seriously. Look at these images and see what they achieved, Tsunade said as she took out the crystal ball and, together with the leader of the Hyuga clan, they poured chakra into the sphere, increasing its size. The sphere increased its eyes becoming a large crystal ball, an image was shown, and they were some flames that in a moment became the Kyubi roaring scaring many of those present, then they showed a child inside a dark room, he had blonde hair and could not have been more than about 3 years old, little by little the number of people in the place increased, but thanks to its eyes, everyone could clearly see what was happening. The boy looked out the window and made sure that no one was there, he left his house very carefully and ran down the street trying not to be seen, he arrived at a store and bought some groceries to eat in front of the disgusted face of the owner of the store. He left the store as quickly as he entered, but before he reached the corner, he was pushed and fell to the ground, dropping the bag containing the food. Why are you running so fast, kid? Don't tell me you stole that damn thing. Said a man with red hair and a scar on his forehead. No sir, I bought this. Said Naruto very scared. Don't tell me, I don't believe you, and you know what? You shouldn't eat this. You deserve to starve to death, the man said, kicking the boy hard and taking the food away. The blonde woke up with a trickle of blood coming out of his mouth. Afraid that the guy would come back, he ran to his apartment and closed the door tightly and lay down on the bed. He was very hungry, but he was too afraid to go out. Tears threatened to come out of his face, but with all his strength, he held them back and fell asleep. The images changed and showed Naruto a few days later in an alley being brutally beaten by some men. They beat him until they got tired, and one of them approached the boy. "That's for not looking where you were going. The next time you run into me, things will be worse for you," said the man, leaving the alley, followed by the other three who accompanied him. The blonde had a broken arm as well as some ribs, but they quickly healed and he returned to his apartment. Half an hour later, the crystal ball showed images of beatings given to the child for strange reasons. Many saw themselves hitting the child, and seeing such scenes could not believe what they had done. Many young people watched in horror as their parents mercilessly attacked a child just for asking a question, tripping, or just seeing them walking. Another image showed Naruto, aged 5, drinking water in a small river. A kunai landed next to his hand, scaring him and forcing him to look back. In that place was a man with a dog mask staring at him. "What are you doing here, monster?" the man said, very annoyed. I was just drinking water," Naruto said, a little scared. "How dare you pollute that water with your presence?" the man said, pulling out a kunai. Naruto was very scared until he saw a man with a cloth mask covering part of his face and with his protector covering one of his eyes. "What are you doing?" said the newcomer, who was holding a book. "Me? Nothing, Kakashi-senpai," said the man, disappearing from the place. "Hey kid, you better go home," Kakashi said, jumping to another branch and walking away. Naruto wasted no time and went home. Naruto's memories showed more and more. Some of the beatings they received were so horrible that many of those who were there were disgusted. They could not stand looking at those horrendous images any longer. The young people could not believe that a person was subjected to all that senseless punishment without having done anything to deserve it. Finally, after countless images, they showed a 7-year-old Naruto arriving home very happy because he had been admitted to the ninja academy thanks to the third Hokage. After eating something, he went to bed to sleep. After midnight, he heard some knocks and the door of his house broke down, and a group of very angry villagers entered the house, destroying everything in their path. Instinctively, he went into the bathroom and went out through the window through which he barely fit. On the other side, a woman saw him and warned the others. The blonde ran with all his strength towards the Hokage tower, but that place was very far away. He hid in an alley trying to mislead his pursuers, but they saw him, cornered him against the wall and beat him to death. For anyone, the blows looked very strong, but for a medic and a ninja, the effect of those blows was clearly noticeable. Broken bones, damaged internal organs, massive internal bleeding, enough to kill anyone. To top it all off, one of them pulled out a sword and approached the boy to finish him off once and for all. "Do you want to live?" a sinister voice inside his head said, which everyone heard. "Who are you?" the boy thought, agonizingly. "Someone who wants to help you," the voice said. "How?" the boy thought, a little intrigued. At one point, the little boy saw himself without any wounds in a very dark place. In the distance, he saw a huge cage and inside it a huge fox with 9 waving tails staring at him. "Come closer, Naruto," said the fox very seriously. "Who are you?" Naruto said, slowly approaching. "I am Kyubi, or the 9-tailed fox. You can call me whatever you want," said Kyubi very calmly. "Where are we?" Naruto said, very confused. "In your mind, the useless 4th Hokage couldn't defeat me, so he sealed me in the body of a child, his own son. It's because of me that all those people want to kill you," said Kyubi very seriously, causing everyone who saw those images to be astonished. "My father was the 4th Hokage. I don't understand, is it his fault that everyone hates me? Why did he seal you inside me?" Naruto said, very annoyed, to which the demon smiled. "I can give you the explanation to your questions another time. I imagine that you want to live. I can give you a new life. If you want to live, you will do what I say, understood?" said the Kyubi very seriously, looking at the boy. "Yes," Naruto said, a little confused. "Come here and come," said Kyubi, sticking a claw through the bars as the boy approached him. The boy touched the claw and the cage began to disappear, freeing the monstrous being. "Now I will give you part of my power so that you can defend yourself from what they have done to you," said the Kyubi, staring at the little boy. The man stood in front of the boy and raised his sword. The blonde closed his eye, and when he opened it, it was a very dark red. A large amount of energy began to come out of his body, healing all his wounds. Everyone was very intrigued by what was happening until they saw how Naruto got up and seemed to have no damage. The marks on his cheeks were more visible. In addition to his red eyes that shone in the darkness, his fangs lengthened and his nails lengthened until they became like claws. The boy walked towards them with his gaze fixed. The aura surrounding him was red and black and became increasingly intense. Suddenly, hundreds of red and black chakra tentacles came out of the boy, trapping his pursuers. The tentacles wrapped around them and began to crush them, while the blonde stared at them and observed the terror that could be seen in the villagers' eyes. They screamed as the grip increased in strength, and many of them were dismembered by the force of the grip. Blood and body parts were scattered all over the place, leaving a very unpleasant scene. The boy fell to his knees on the ground due to using so much energy and very dismayed by what he had just done. "Run, we have to go," said Kyubi very seriously. "I can't move, I'm too tired," Naruto said, his muscles severely sore. "I see that your body can't stand my power, no way, get up and run, we must go to a safe place," said Kyubi, giving a quantity of healing chakra to the boy, healing his muscles. The little boy got up and ran out of the alley. He ran for several minutes until he reached the woods and collapsed on the ground. After several minutes he woke up feeling much better, his body no longer hurt, he saw the sunrise through the treetops, he couldn't believe what he had done. "We must leave this place," Kyubi said in the boy's mind. "Where to?" Naruto said in his mind. "That doesn't matter now, we will travel the world, we will go everywhere, we will meet many people and above all, you will become very strong, and then we will return to this place and destroy them, do not have mercy on them, no one has ever treated you well in this place, not even that old Hokage, he sees you as if you were a nuisance, you are not to blame for anything, and they have mistreated you all your life, it is time for you to get revenge," said Kyubi very seriously. "Okay," Naruto said a little seriously and very sad. The blonde gathered a good amount of chakra in his feet and went out at full speed through the forest. He reached the gigantic wall and jumped over it, as if it were nothing. Without anyone seeing him, he continued on his way at an unattainable speed. He had no idea where he was going to go. He just wanted to get away from the village where he was born and where he had suffered so much. Only one idea ran through his mind. To survive and take revenge one day for all the suffering and pain he had been through. After those images, the crystal ball stopped passing images and disappeared. Everyone was in complete silence, no one could say anything, no one reacted, only a few ideas ran through their minds, preventing them from thinking clearly. Naruto was the son of the fourth Hokage, he was subjected to unimaginable abuse by the entire village, and was even taken to the point of having to release Kyubi in order to save his life. "You saw that? I told you that boy was a murderous demon," Kaoru said, very seriously. "I don't know if you realized it, but that was self-defense. I can't believe you still think that about him after what you just saw. Tell me, who's the real monster? Him for killing a group of people to defend himself, or those who were capable of attacking a defenseless child in such an indiscriminate manner?" Hiashi said very seriously. While they were arguing, the villagers were in a state of emotional chaos. They couldn't understand how they had been able to do such harm to the son of their greatest hero. Unaware of these events, Naruto was sleeping in the hospital while his energy was restored, but still not feeling the Kyubi chakra, and without which he would not be able to go after the last two members of Akatsuki that he was missing. Chapter 7. Dark Destiny. Chapter 7. Coexistence. 2 more days passed and Naruto still hadn't left the room, his chakra had already been restored, but he still couldn't talk to Kyubi, and he didn't feel his power, and that was starting to make him nervous. During those 2 days he had not woken up, worrying the fifth Hokage and his ex-sensei a little, who believed that he was still sick from the poison, but were surprised to see how he got up. "Are you okay?" Sarutobi said, very worried. "Yes, I'm almost back to normal, but I'm really hungry," Naruto said, getting out of bed. "Well, you're already discharged, but I want to ask you not to leave the village yet. We'd like to talk to you about some things," Tsunade said in a rather respectful tone of voice. "If you've seen my memories, you'll know I don't feel comfortable in this place," Naruto said very seriously. "Naruto, why did you never tell me what was wrong with you?" said Sarutobi very sadly. "What for?" said Naruto looking at the old man. "What do you mean, why? If I had known, I would have stopped it," said Sarutobi very seriously. "Of course, and risk them retaliating against me later. Besides, I didn't want to get you in trouble. After all, you did a lot by giving me money every month for my food and you always made sure I never lacked anything. But I couldn't ask you for anything, and besides, several of them are important people in the village and that would have caused you a lot of problems with the village," Naruto said very seriously. "But," said Sarutobi but was silenced by a hand on the blonde's shoulder. "You know, the past is something that no matter how much we'd like to change, we can't. The only thing we can do is live in the present and avoid making the same mistakes from the past," Tsunade said very seriously. "I think so," Naruto said looking at the blonde. "By the way, my name is," said Tsunade but was interrupted by the young man's hand. Tsunade, granddaughter of the first Hokage, one of the 3 Sannin of Konoha, and teammate of the perverted Jiraiya and the cheater Orochimaru, current Hokage of Konoha. Naruto said, looking around the room for something. "Do you know them?" Tsunade said very seriously. "I know Jiraiya very well, but I haven't seen him in a while. I think he said he was coming here, and as for Orochimaru, well, we had a brief encounter that didn't turn out as well as he'd hoped," said Naruto, scratching his head. "What do you mean?" Sarutobi said, a little worried. Well, he made me an offer and when I refused, he attacked me and I had to kill him. Said Naruto a little anxiously. Are you looking for something? Tsunade said, very impressed by the young man's comment and very intrigued by his behavior. Yes, my clothes, I don't like this robe. Said Naruto very seriously. The blonde was left with a drop in her head and called a nurse who brought the young man's clothes, as well as his weapon, the blonde, and the old man left the room while he was changing. After a few minutes Naruto left the room with the black suit on, but with the hood down, and with a mask on his neck revealing his face. His sword was on his belt, but as soon as it came out Kisam's sword left the room where it was leaning against the wall and stood right next to him. What the heck? Naruto said upon seeing the sword. Well, ever since they found you in the cave, that sword has followed you. I think it has chosen you as its owner. Sarutobi said, looking at the blonde. Interesting, Naruto said, taking the sword in his left hand. What will you do now? Sarutobi said, looking at the young man. I'm not sure, my chakra is almost at maximum, but I don't feel the Kyubi's chakra, so my total power is only half. Naruto said very seriously. I think he must have used all his power keeping you alive. Why don't you stay here until you recover all your power and then leave, besides that way you won't be in danger from the missing Akatsuki members. Sarutobi said very seriously and seeing an opportunity for the blonde to stay. I guess, in these conditions I'll barely be a match for Pain and Madara, Naruto said, a little thoughtfully. Madara? Sarutobi said, very surprised by the name. I'll explain later. I'm too hungry to talk. See you later. Naruto said as he walked forward. I'll expect you at the Hokage Tower in a few hours, Sarutobi said very seriously. One more thing, from now on I'm warning you that if anyone tries to do anything to me I'm going to kill them, that's clear. Naruto said without stopping, leaving the old man a little sad. I think it will be impossible for Naruto to join the village, Tsunade said very seriously. I know that despite everything, deep down there's still that kind boy who never gave up, Sarutobi said, a little seriously. I hope you're right, sensei, Tsunade said very seriously. Naruto walked through the hospital earning the gaze of everyone inside. Everyone looked at him indecisively. The news that he was the son of the fourth Hokage and that he had also endured mistreatment from the village in his childhood confused them a lot, but something they couldn't forget was that he was very dangerous. He left the hospital and walked slowly down the street. Everyone was staring at him. The large bandaged sword he carried over his shoulder, his red eyes, his black clothes, the symbolless protector on his forehead, and his indifferent attitude toward the astonished looks were very striking. Many young people who had fought with their parents days before when they saw how they mistreated the child wanted to approach him and apologize for what their parents had done, but they did not dare. Some adults who years before had realized their mistake were in the same situation, and one of them who could not stand it anymore approached him and knelt in front of the blonde. Please forgive me, I didn't know what I was doing, the man said without looking up. Get out of the way. Naruto said in a cold voice. The man raised his head and was about to speak again, but fell back when the young man placed the great sword in front of him, frightening the man and all the spectators. I told you to get out of the way or I'd rather kill you. Naruto said, staring into the man's terrified eyes. He crawled out of the way letting him pass. His face was filled with fear. The young man's eyes had seen his own death and he couldn't think clearly. The blonde adjusted the weapon on his shoulder and continued on his way, leaving the group of people astonished as they saw the radical change that the 4-year-old boy had had, who shouted with all his might that he was going to become Hokage and that day they would respect him. The damage was already done. There was no word or justification that could make the blonde forgive them. This walk through the streets leaving everyone who saw him silent and paralyzed without paying much attention to him. Many girls who watched him despite the fear he instilled in them felt attracted. It was like seeing death in front of them. It was a terrifying, but at the same time exciting experience. Oblivious to these thoughts and reactions, Naruto walked through the streets until a smell caught his attention. He walked quickly to a place he immediately recognized. I'm surprised it's still open, Naruto thought, looking at the restaurant that had a sign that said Ichigo Ramen's. Without wasting much time he entered the establishment and passing between some of the customers he reached the bar, some of them stared at him in silence, and the owner of the establishment approached him. What are you going to eat? The owner of the establishment said, not recognizing the young man since he hadn't been to the plaza and hadn't heard the rumors about him. I don't know, what dishes does it have? Naruto said in a respectful tone of voice as he placed the greatsword next to him. Here's the menu, said a girl with short brown hair, handing him the paper. The young man looked at her for a few seconds and smiled a little, making her blush. He took the paper and ordered several dishes. After a while, he had finished eating. He paid, took his gun, and left the place. He went to the park. He had spent almost the entire day sleeping, and it was already starting to get dark. He was about to head towards the Hokage tower when he saw a person leaning against a tree. It was a woman who was sitting on the grass with her back against the tree and her head on her legs. He recognized her immediately. It was the nurse he saw when he woke up in the hospital. He approached her and heard her crying, so he stood in front of her and called her. "Hello," Naruto said, getting her to lift her face. She jumped when she heard the voice, wiped her tears, and was surprised to see the young man in front of her. She quickly remembered her previous memory, and her face turned so red that it seemed like it was going to explode at any moment. "Are you okay?" Naruto said, sitting next to her. "Yes, nothing's wrong," the girl said, a little nervous because of the proximity. "A pretty girl doesn't cry for nothing. What's your name?" said Naruto staring at her. "My name is Hinata, Hinata Hyuga," said Hinata, blushing at the boy's comment. "Okay Hinata, tell me, why are you like this?" said Naruto very seriously. "Well, it's just that my father wants to force me to marry my cousin so that I can give him a worthy heir, since he says that's the only thing I'm good for because of how weak I am," said Hinata very sadly. "I see, but why does he say you're weak?" Naruto said a little seriously. "It's that years ago, there was an exam to be promoted to Chunin. I fought against my cousin and lost. After that my father kicked me out of the house, saying that I was unworthy of the clan. I stopped being a ninja, and when Tsunade-sama arrived in Konoha 5 years ago when the third Hokage got sick and abandoned the post, I asked her to train me as a doctor to help my friends. My father hasn't spoken to me since then, and today he told me that I had to get married unless I beat him in combat, which is impossible," said Hinata very sadly and starting to cry again. "I see, so you're a reject. What would you say if I told you that you could beat your father?" Naruto said a little thoughtfully. "What, how?" said Hinata looking at the young man. "Well, come to this place tomorrow morning and I'll show you how," Naruto said as he stood up. Thank you," said Hinata, a little blushed and embarrassed. The blonde waved goodbye and walked slowly and calmly towards the Hokage tower. "What the hell are you doing?" said Kyubi very annoyed. "Until you finally wake up," thought Naruto, smiling as he heard his partner. Chapter 8. Dark Destiny. Chapter 8. Secret Ideas. From one moment to the next a blonde saw himself in a very dark place and in front of him was the gigantic fox lying in the darkness staring at him. "I see you're starting to recover," Naruto said, smiling. "More respect, brat. Without my help, you would have died from that poison. Who do you think kept you alive all that time? I spent all my chakra preventing that poison from killing you," Kyubi said, very annoyed by the young man's lack of respect. "I knew it, but I don't know why you're so upset," Naruto said, staring at the gigantic beast. "What do you mean, why? Why are you so calm in this place? What are you doing offering to help that girl? Why are you still here? Come on, talk," Kyubi said, very annoyed. "Your mind is still asleep, right?" Naruto said, sitting in the darkness. "What do you mean?" Kyubi said, a little annoyed by the comment. "I know you kept me alive after Madara attacked me with that poison, but no offense, but you couldn't get that poison out and at that point we would have died. They brought us here and cured us," Naruto said very seriously. "Yes, it's true," said Kyubi a little thoughtfully. "Not only that, in addition to healing me, they treated me well. I showed them my memories where they clearly saw what happened to me as a child and the massacre we committed and look, they haven't done anything to us. They're treating me very well, but why?" Naruto said, looking at the kitsune. "They want something," said Kyubi very surprised. "Exactly, and considering the situation Konoha is in, it's obvious they want me to help them in the war. I don't think there's any other reason for them treating me so kindly," Naruto said, smiling a little. "Wow, you've become very smart during all this time," said Kyubi very proudly. "I know. Besides, we can take advantage of being here to see the village's weaknesses so that when we come back with the boys, it will be easier to take the city," Naruto said, standing up and looking at the nine-tailed fox. "And what about the girl?" Kyubi said a little confused. "What's wrong with her?" Naruto said a little seriously. "Well, why are you going to help her?" said Kyubi looking at the blonde. "You know I don't like injustice and that's exactly what they're doing to her. If she beats her father, she'll be free to do whatever she wants. Also, from what she told me, I realized that her father must be an arrogant person with an air of superiority. What better surprise than for his daughter, whom he calls useless, to beat him up?" Naruto said, very happy. "Good point, she's also quite cute," said Kyubi smiling pervertedly. "Don't start again," Naruto said, a little annoyed. "There we go, as if you hadn't already had your eye on him, well we're here we can have a little fun," said Kyubi laughing pervertedly. "You only think about that, right?" Naruto said with a little annoyance. "Look who's talking," said Kyubi laughing loudly. "We can finish this, we're almost at the Hokage tower," Naruto said, looking at the fox. "Okay, I'll keep resting. I need to recover all my power quickly. It bothers me to be this weak," said Kyubi, closing his eyes. "How long will it take to recover all your power?" said Naruto very seriously. "In 7 days at the most," said Kyubi yawning. "Well, focus on recovering your strength and I'll take care of everything," Naruto said, disappearing from the darkness and returning to his body, which was just arriving at the tower. He entered it without much problem since the guards as soon as they saw him arrive they stepped aside. He walked down the hallway and saw a woman with black hair and tanned skin trying to carry some papers, but she could barely keep her balance. Suddenly she fell forward because of the weight of the papers that fell scattered on the floor, but strangely she didn't. She noticed that she had collided with something or rather someone. She looked up to find herself leaning on the chest of a man with blonde hair and a wild and elegant appearance, who was looking at her with piercing and dark eyes, producing strange sensations in the woman. "Are you okay?" Naruto said in a respectful but almost sensual tone of voice. The woman's face was completely red and she just nodded as the young man helped her stand up and continued on his way, leaving the brunette deep in thought. "And then you're not the one who goes looking for the girls," Kyubi said in the blonde's mind. "It's not me, it's them," Naruto thought while laughing softly. They reached a door and knocked. The door opened revealing the blonde who, upon seeing the young man, immediately let him in. The young man entered the room where the elder of the third Hokage was along with 2 other elders and finally a man who was missing an arm and looked very hurt. "Until you finally arrive," the old woman said very seriously. "I stayed looking at the village and remembering the good times," Naruto said a little sarcastically. "We want to talk to you about a very serious matter," the old woman said, a little offended by the young man's disrespectful way of speaking to them. "I can imagine, otherwise, I don't think they would have saved my life so easily without expecting anything in return, or am I wrong?" Naruto said, staring at the woman who, despite wanting to, was unable to meet the young man's gaze. "To tell you the truth, we want your help in the upcoming war with the other ninja villages. We know you're the leader of a group of very powerful ninjas and we want to know what you want to do to help us," said the woman's elderly companion. "Naruto, we know that you better than anyone have your reasons for not wanting to help us, people are very sorry for what they did," said Sarutobi very seriously. "They don't regret anything, they just accept me now because they know who my father was. To them, I'm still the same," Naruto said, a little annoyed. "It's possible, and I know I should have told you before, but I couldn't. Your father was someone very famous and feared in the other ninja villages. If they had known who you were they would have killed you," Sarutobi said a little sadly. "I think that would have been better than letting me live like this," Naruto said with his eyes closed. "Please try to understand, I did what I thought was right," said Sarutobi very sadly. "I don't blame you, not even the idiots who attacked me as a child. Who can blame them? A child walking around with a creature that killed his loved ones walking freely, the one I blame is my idiot father. How could it possibly occur to him that those wretches would treat me well?" Naruto said very angrily, managing to frighten those present. "I guess you're not going to help us," Tsunade said sadly. "I already helped them in the past, I don't plan on doing it again," Naruto said very seriously. "Explain yourself," the old woman said, somewhat curious. 8 years ago, Orochimaru, I imagine you know him, founded a village that he called Itagakure no Sato. Anyway, he along with the former Kazuki were going to invade Konoha during the Chunin exams. He recruited me to help him, but as soon as he told me that he was going to kill you, I killed him along with the Kazuki," said Naruto looking at the third Hokage. "So, it was you who destroyed that village," the old woman said very seriously. "That's right, of course, after I killed Orochimaru there were some ninjas who were loyal to him and I eliminated them, but others decided to join me and well, now they're with me," said Naruto yawning a little. "Are we boring you?" the man missing his arm said, very annoyed. "A little, but the truth is I'm still regaining strength and I need to rest," Naruto said, stretching a little. "Tell us first, are you going to help us or not?" the old woman said very seriously. "In exactly 1 week I'll regain my strength, during which time I'll think about your proposal," Naruto said very seriously. "Okay, I'll ask a ninja to escort you to the hotel in Konoha. You'll stay there during your stay," Tsunade said as she wrote a letter and gave it to the young man. "You mentioned Madara's name a little while ago. What did you mean by that?" Sarutobi said very seriously. "Simple, the original leader of Akatsuki is Madara Uchiha. He and the one who pretends to be the leader are the last members I need. Once I recover I'm going to kill them. Now if you'll excuse me I'm very sleepy," said Naruto getting up and putting the letter in his pants pocket. He left the room and saw an Anbu waiting for him. Both of them left the place while the elders argued among themselves. "Do you really think he'll help us?" said the man missing an arm. "I'm afraid, Danzo-san, that we have no choice but to wait and see what decision that child makes," the old woman said, very annoyed. "I hope Naruto can find forgiveness in his heart and help us," Sarutobi said very sadly. At the Konoha hotel, the hotel manager escorted the young man directly to his room. By order of the Hokage herself, they were to give him the best they had. Naruto entered the room, which was at least 5 times bigger than the small apartment he had when he lived there. He said goodbye to the manager and closed the door. I wonder how much those idiots will humiliate themselves to get me to help them, Naruto said, smiling. You're not going to help them, are you? Said Kyubi very seriously. Of course not, but they don't know that. Naruto thought as he laughed and lay down on the bed to fall asleep and prepare for a new day. What are you planning to do? Kyubi said, a little curious. Well, first, while I'm here, have some fun, train Hinata, and then after you regain your strength we'll leave here and finish off the remaining Akatsukas. Those eyes, the leader has interest me a lot. I think we'll also take Madara's so he'll respect me, and since I'm here I'll try to see what abilities I can get. Naruto thought, somewhat tired. You don't know how proud I am of you. You're colder and more calculating than I ever imagined when you were a kid, Kyubi said happily. Well, go to sleep because tomorrow is going to be a long day, Naruto thought as he took off his clothes and was left with only a pair of pants. Chapter 9. Arc Destiny. Chapter 9. Training and Conflicts. The day began like any other in Konoha. A good number of ninjas from the village were gathering at the Hokage Tower to talk about the events they had learned about. Since very early that morning, a ninja sent by the Mizukage came to deliver an important message to the Hokage. Just at that moment, Naruto was walking calmly to the park. His clothes, although new, were the same as the other ones he had saved in one of the scrolls he had in his vest. The enormous sword rested on his left shoulder, and he was going to take advantage of it to practice a little with it. He got closer and closer to the park and saw a young woman with blue-black hair who looked very anxious sitting in a chair. Have you been waiting for me long? Naruto said, quickly approaching the young woman. No, not much, said Hinata, blushing a lot when she saw the young blonde. Well, let's get started, Naruto said a little seriously. What are we going to do? Said Hinata, very curious. I'm going to give you special training so you can beat your father, Naruto said calmly. Really? Hinata said, very surprised. Of course, but I warn you, this training is unlike anything you've ever known, and it's a little painful, Naruto said, quite seriously. No, it doesn't matter, I'll do it, I trust you, said Hinata, blushing a lot. Thanks, Naruto said, scratching his head a little. How strange, why am I so sad? Naruto thought, a little confused. What do I have to do? Hinata said a little nervously. Just do what I tell you. First, I'm going to send chakra to your muscles to strengthen them. It would be like a very strong physical training. Most likely you won't be able to move for a couple of hours, since you'll be very tired. Second, I'll increase the flow of chakra in your body so it will hurt a little, but I need you to bear it, said Naruto very seriously. She nodded and he looked at her a little surprised. Well, then what'll do is see which element you have the greatest affinity with. I can transfer several techniques from that element to your chakra flow, and it will be as if you had learned them normally. Finally, there will be an exam to prove that you have successfully completed the training. Are you willing to do it? Remember that strengthening your muscles and increasing your chakra channels will be very tiring and painful, said Naruto very seriously. I will, Hinata said, very determined but equally nervous. Then let's go somewhere where we won't be bothered, Naruto said a little thoughtfully. I know a place where no one goes, Hinata said, very nervous about being alone with the blonde. Okay, let's go, Naruto said, looking at the Hyuga. Both young men walked to an empty and seemingly abandoned training area. It's here, Hinata said a little nervously. Good, now take off that coat, it's only going to get in the way, Naruto said, leaving the huge sword lying on the ground. Yes, said Hinata, very nervous and with a glowing red on her face. The young woman began to take off the coat that covered her to her knees. She turned her back on the young man who looked at her a little impatiently at the girl's slowness. Finally the coat fell to the ground and the young woman turned around slowly with her face very red. She was wearing tight blue pants and a blue blouse that fit her curves. Naruto's eyes almost popped out when he saw the anatomy of the shy young woman. But how? They're huge, Naruto thought as he saw the blue-haired girl's not so small bust. Odd, how is this possible? They're bigger than the desert blondes, and that's saying something. Naruto, if you're not going to touch that goddess, let me, she's divine, said Kyubi, trying to stand up in the darkness, a large amount of saliva coming out of his snout. First, you're in no condition, and second, you're not going to touch her. I remember what you did to her the last time I let you use my body, Naruto thought, a little annoyed. How many times do I have to tell you that I'm sorry, it's not my fault, they started it, said Kyubi, very annoyed. Refusing to sell liquor to a 15-year-old isn't a reason to nearly destroy a village, Naruto thought as he approached the blushing girl. Of course, keep defending them, said Kyubi very indignantly. Okay Hinata, sit down. This will only take a few seconds. Once I do, I'll take you home. when you feel better, you can find me so we can continue. Okay, but it'd be better if it's tomorrow or the day after. Naruto said very seriously, to which she just nodded. The young woman sat on the floor with her legs crossed, and he stood behind her and placed his hands on the shoulders of the blue-haired girl who blushed even more if that was possible when she felt the blonde's hands on her body. Well, from now on I'm going to start sending chakra directly to your muscles, stimulating them. This way it will be like a hard physical training of several years in just a few seconds. It will be exhausting, but with this your strength, reflexes and speed will increase greatly, your bones will become stronger, and your muscle mass will increase considerably," said Naruto, concentrating on his own chakra which began to accumulate in his hands. Okay, said Hinata, getting ready. "Of course you won't have excessive muscles, you'll have an athletic figure, after all, we can't let such a beautiful figure be damaged," Naruto said in a somewhat lustful tone of voice. Hinata had to make a superhuman effort not to faint, and her face showed shades of red never before seen by humanity. "Ready?" said Naruto, looking at the girl. Yes, said Hinata very nervously. The Jinchuriki's chakra began to flow within the blue-haired girl's body. She closed her eyes as she felt the energy which caused her a little pain. For a few seconds they were like that until the intensity of the chakra changed, and she put aside the muscles that were already ready and continued with the flow of her chakra. Hinata let out a small moan of pain as she felt her chakra being bombarded by the young man's chakra. Her chakra channels were enlarging a little, making her feel terrible pain. Finally Naruto stopped sending chakra to the young woman's body, who was going to fall to the ground, but he caught her before she hit. "Calm down, try to hold on. You'll see the results of this by this time tomorrow, but for now, try to endure the pain," Naruto said, very seriously, looking at the girl who was shedding a few tears. "Yes, I'll endure it," said Hinata, very hurt. "Wow, you're stronger than I imagined," Naruto said, accommodating the girl in his arms and carrying her. With a little effort he freed one of his hands and making some seals with it, he created a clone that took Samehada, and both left the training place. Hinata was semi-conscious and could not believe that this young man was carrying her in his arms. "Where do you live?" Naruto said, looking at the young woman's blushing face. "In an apartment near the Hokage Tower," Hinata said with great effort. "Alright, let's go," Naruto said, quickening his pace, followed by the clone. After several minutes they arrived at the village where everyone was looking at the young man and his clone, as well as the sleeping Hyuga he had in his arms. A large ball of fire headed towards him, but was blocked by the clone who attacked it with a jet of water coming out of his mouth. Both blondes looked at the place where the attack came from and saw a young black-haired man with red eyes and 3 dots in each of his eyes looking at him with intense hatred from the top of a house. "Who are you? And why are you attacking me?" Naruto said, a little annoyed. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha and I'm going to kill you," said Sasuke, very annoyed. "May I know why?" Naruto said, looking at the black-haired man. "You killed my brother and stole my revenge, now I'm going to eliminate you," Sasuke said angrily, jumping off the roof of the house and landing next to the blonde who was holding the blue-haired girl in his arms. "Yeah, your brother was the black-haired one from the Akatsukis, I remember, now that I see it, they are somewhat similar," said Naruto's clone, looking at the black-haired one. "You didn't have to kill him, it was my mission to do it," Sasuke said angrily. "Look, Uchiha, I was hired to finish off the Akatsuki members. The truth is I don't care what problems you had with that guy, because I was only doing my job. You are sent to kill someone and you kill them. Those people have families or they hurt someone, and still someone wanted revenge on them. You can't blame me for doing what you asked me to," said Naruto very seriously. "I don't care about that. Itachi was mine, my revenge. I trained hard to kill him, and you come and kill him. You've stolen my goal, and I'm going to kill you. Fight me now," Sasuke said, staring at the blonde. "Okay, I'll just drop Hinata off at her house and we'll fight, does that sound okay to you?" Naruto said a little seriously. "Done, I'll wait for you in training area 7. Sasuke said as he walked to that place. "What a pain," Naruto said as he continued walking alongside his clone. A few minutes later he arrived at the young woman's house, opened the door and took her to her bed, leaving the clone to take care of her in case any complications arose due to training or if she needed anything, since it would be very difficult for her to move, and left the house with his weapon on his shoulder. The news of Sasuke's battle against Naruto spread quickly throughout the village, and at the scene of the confrontation were gathered countless ninjas, villagers and council members, as well as the Hokage and others who were interested in the fight that would take place. On the field were Sakura, Kakashi and Naoto trying to convince the Uchiha to give up the fight, but it was useless, his anger blinded him. In the distance they saw Naruto, who appeared because the people moved aside to let him pass. Sasuke stood up when he saw him coming and approached him. "Shall we begin?" Sasuke said impatiently. "As you wish," Naruto said without much enthusiasm, stepping back a little. He stuck the great sword into the ground, took off his cape along with his mask, folded them on the ground, and removed the sword he carried at his waist, and placed it on top of the cape. He turned around and looked directly at the Uchiha, who took a kunai and placed himself in a battle position. Chapter 10. Dark Destiny. Chapter 10. Battles. All the spectators were silent, many ninjas and villagers looked attentively at the two young men who were in the training area staring at each other. The blonde had a disinterested look, waiting for the black-haired man to act, while he, already with his Sharigan activated, waited for the moment to act. Sasuke looked at him uncertainly. He knew the young man was very strong, and even though the Hokage had said he was a little weak from the poison, he knew he was very strong, so he had to go all out from the start. He remembered what the Hokage had said at the meeting, trying to use that information to his advantage. Flashback. In the Hokage Tower, the Sannin Tsunade stood in front of everyone present with some papers in her hands. This morning, a ninja sent by the Mizukage brought us a message that has already been sent to all the ninja villages, Tsunade said very seriously. What's the message? The councilwoman said, looking at the blonde. That the vast majority of the members of the Akatsuki organization have been eliminated by Naruto, Tsunade said, a little serious. How many more are left? Saratobi said, a little thoughtfully. The Mizukage claims that only one is missing, but according to what Naruto told us, there are two. Said Tsunade very seriously. So it won't be long before Akatsuki's end, Hiashi said, quite surprised. To tell the truth, no. Within a week, Naruto will regain his full powers and go after the remaining ones. Tsunade said, a little sadly. How's the plan for him to join Konoha going? Said a black-haired man wearing a large coat and glasses that hid much of his identity. We don't know. He said he'd think about it. We've also learned a lot of things about him, things I imagine you must know, Tsunade said, very seriously. What things? Hiashi said very seriously. Well, to start from the moment we discovered that Naruto was alive, I sent a group of ninjas to look for information about him, and they discovered some very interesting things. Yesterday at midnight they returned and gave me the information they had obtained. Said Tsunade a little uneasy. What are you waiting for? Tell us. Said the council elder. Well, after Naruto left the village 14 years ago, he began to travel through all the ninja villages. We know that he trained on his own for all that time, until 11 years ago he arrived in Nami no Kuni, Wave Country. There was a man named Gato who apparently was a mobster. The people in that place lived in fear. A man named Tazuna was building a bridge to help the people. Gato sent him to kill with luck that Naruto was around. He killed the men that Gato sent to kill the old man, and after seeing the state of the people he went to where Gato was and killed him. We know that Gato had Zabuza Momoshiki under his services, and that he faced Naruto but failed to defeat him, and when Naruto was going to kill him, a student of Zabuza named Haku spoke to Naruto, and after a long battle he spared their lives. From that moment the three of them became a team and freed the country of the wave. Zabuza trained Naruto as a ninja, and that's how he started to get really strong, Tsunade said, looking at everyone. The blonde took a breath and continued her story. A year later we know that Naruto was recruited by Orochimaru to help him with an invasion of Konoha that was going to take place during the Chunin exams. Naruto, when he found out that Orochimaru's goal was to kill the third Hokage, killed him, along with the Kazekage who was allied with Orochimaru. In that way the invasion that was going to be carried out by Tsunagakure no Sato and Itagakure no Sato fell apart. We also know that the current Kazekage is the youngest son of the previous Kage, but despite that he is a great friend of Naruto, and that Naruto in this village has a lot of power within the council, so his authority in said village is the same as that of the Kage. Said Tsunade very seriously. That means if we manage to get Naruto to join us, we will also get Tsunagakure to become our ally. Hiashi said, very surprised. Indeed, the other data we have are from missions that Naruto has carried out for some feudal lords and from training with many people. We know that his training has not only been ninja, but includes samurai training and many others. He is a warrior specialized in several different fighting styles and that he is a ruthless killer, but we know that he has honor and that the people in the country of the wave love him like a hero, which is why the bridge there has his name. Said Tsunade with a hint of pride in her voice. The elder of the third Hokage was very impressed with what he heard and was very proud. I also have the list of Akatsuki members here, as well as a special package sent by the Mizukage himself, Tsunade said, taking out a scroll. Everyone was paying close attention because the information they had heard was very impressive. One woman in particular was very surprised. She had purple hair and was wearing a brown trench coat, underneath which she wore a semi-transparent black protective mesh that didn't leave much to the imagination. Tsunade finished opening the scroll and began to read what was written. We have verified the identity of the ninjas belonging to the Akatsuki organization, and we confirm that they have indeed been eliminated. The names of the fallen members are as follows. Akasuna no Sasori dead, Dadara dead, Zetsu dead, Haiden dead, Kakuzu dead, Konan dead, Kisame Hoshigaki dead, Itachi Uchiha dead. Sincerely, Mizukage. Said Tsunade very seriously, to which everyone was very surprised. The blonde took the package, and from there she pulled out Itachi's head with his Jujutsu activated, which left those present very impressed, especially Sasuke, who had his fists clenched and ran out of the place, drawing the attention of everyone present. End of flashback. Sasuke gripped the kunai tightly and threw it while making a series of seals. Hundreds of kunais appeared directly at the blonde, who hit the ground, raising a large wall of earth that stopped the lethal attack. Sasuke immediately formed a Chidori and launched himself against the wall, destroying it, but without seeing the blonde, a hand came out of the ground and buried the Uchiha up to his neck, while Naruto looked at him amused in front of him. The black-haired man became enraged, and using a large amount of chakra he came out of the hole throwing kunais and shurikens at the blonde, who evaded them with some ease. Annoyed by this fact, he launched himself at him to engage in hand-to-hand combat. He launched a series of punches and kicks that Naruto blocked with subtle movements of his hands and feet. In one of the blows, Sasuke took out 3 shurikens and threw them at the blonde. These were tied with some threads that caught Naruto. The black-haired man threw him against a tree and then sent a large amount of flames through the threads that went directly to the blonde. Naruto released one of his hands and, to everyone's amazement, made a series of seals with it. "One-hand positions," said Kakashi, very surprised, not believing what he saw. From the blonde's mouth came a great torrent of water that extinguished the flames and hit the black-haired man. The kitsune broke the threads and disappeared to then appear behind Sasuke. The Uchiha threw a punch, but Naruto grabbed his arm and with the tip of his free hand, hit 4 points of the black-haired man's arm, which caused him to scream and jump away. Sasuke tried to move the arm that the blonde had hit, but it didn't move. In fact, he didn't feel it. "What did you do to me?" Sasuke said angrily. "I paralyzed your arm," Naruto said very calmly. "That's not fair, I can't do ninjutsu like this," Sasuke said very annoyed. "You complain a lot considering you were the one who challenged me," said Naruto, approaching the black-haired man. Naruto disappeared and hit the Uchiha's paralyzed arm in several places and then moved away while Sasuke moved his arm again. "That's so you don't say I beat you with tricks," Naruto said, looking at the black-haired man with some mockery. Sasuke launched a large fireball and several smaller ones that went against the blonde, who began to create at great speed a sphere of blue energy in his right hand that turned red and with flames and then shot out towards the black-haired man's fireballs. The blonde's attack left a trail of fire in a spiral shape as it moved. It hit the Uchiha's attack and went through it as if it wasn't heading toward Sasuke, who jumped to the side to avoid the impact, but the shock force of the attack sent him flying into a tree, knocking him down along with 5 others that were behind him. With great difficulty he got out from between the fallen trees, very sore, bleeding a little and breathing heavily, and also looking furiously at the blonde, who remained calm. "What attack was that? I've never seen that technique before," said Sasuke, very annoyed. "Of course you haven't seen it, I created it. It's called Kaiten Rasen Inseki, Spiral Meteor. It's a version of the 4th Hokage's Rasengan mixed with the fire element," said Naruto a little seriously. "You know the 4th Hokage's technique," Sasuke said, very impressed. "That technique, although good, from the moment I learned it, I realized it was incomplete. I don't understand how a man could be so famous if he couldn't even perfect his technique. I suppose it was something mediocre," Naruto said in a somewhat mocking tone of voice. "Do you realize you're talking about your father?" Sasuke said, a little annoyed at hearing the village hero being spoken of so badly. "I know," Naruto said very calmly. "How can you talk about him like that?" said Sasuke, very annoyed. "Very easy, doing it. Or do you mean why do I talk about him like that if he is my father? Well, it's easy, I feel nothing but contempt for that man. To tell the truth, I can't understand how someone can be so cruel to seal the soul of a demon in the body of a newborn. What did he expect when he did that his beloved people for which he gave his life would treat me well and with respect, having inside me the creature that killed their families? He must be very idiot if he thought that, don't you think?" said Naruto, looking at the black-haired man. "I don't know," Sasuke said, trying to get up. He was very tired, his chakra was dangerously low, and his body hurt a lot. If only that was how he felt if the technique had hit him hard. "You know, I'm already bored of playing with you. This is getting really boring, and I don't like being wasted," Naruto said, walking quickly toward the dark-haired man. With the last bit of energy he had, he created a new Chidori and launched himself at the blonde, who landed a strong punch in his face, knocking him down instantly. The attack faded, and the Uchiha was left unconscious on the ground with his Sharingan deactivated. "Pathetic," said Naruto, seeing the fainted black-haired boy. Sakura approached him to see how he was feeling. He woke up in pain and tried to get up. The pink-haired girl offered him her hand to help him, but he abruptly pushed her away, and after getting up he went home very upset. The girl touched her hand and became very sad. "You know, if he can't appreciate you, it's better if you leave him," Naruto said, looking at the girl. "What are you talking about?" Sakura said, a little annoyed with the blonde for what he had done to the Uchiha. Well, since I arrived I realized that you're behind him and that he doesn't value you, you should respect yourself a little more and look for someone who loves you for who you are and doesn't treat you like an old rag. Naruto said, walking, causing the young woman to stare at him while her cheeks turned red. Ah, how disappointing, I couldn't even entertain myself with that guy. If he was going to lose that easily, then why did he challenge me? Naruto thought as he walked towards his weapons and those present left after the fight was over. Why didn't you fight seriously from the start? Kyubi said in the boy's mind. You're joking, right? I only played with him and look how little he resisted. Imagine if I had fought seriously. Naruto thought as he gathered his things. That's true, well, it served as a warm-up, now why don't you get practicing a little, it's been a while since you last trained. Kyubi said, to which Naruto nodded. He left the place and arrived at the place where he had been with Hinata, and there he created a group of 15 shadow clones, but they did not have Kisam's gigantic sword with them. Attack me with everything you've got, Naruto said as he pulled out his greatsword. The clones obeyed and launched themselves at him. The blonde handled the great sword very well and learned in minutes how to use the chakra that the sword absorbed and then take over it. After several hours and almost past midnight, Naruto walked with his suit somewhat worn and with several cuts. He was a little hungry, but he had already mastered the great sword and had some new techniques. He arrived at Ichigo Ramen's and saw the owner's daughter closing the store. He saw her for a few seconds and she seemed to be having difficulty closing the door. Wow, looks like the girl is in trouble. Kyubi said in the blonde's mind. How perceptive, Naruto said sarcastically. How about you have a little fun with her, that would be good training. Kyubi said, laughing pervertedly. Naruto looked at the young woman from her legs to her head, taking in all her curves, and then smiled in the same way as his furry companion. I think you're right, Naruto thought as he approached the brown-haired girl. Chapter 11. Dark Destiny. Chapter 11. Close Encounters. Slowly and stealthily he approached the careless woman who was trying to lower the locked door. Without making any noise he approached her and touched her shoulder to get her attention, causing her to become frightened. She turned quickly to find blood-red eyes staring at her intently. Hey, hello. AM said a little nervously. Hi, do you need help? Naruto said, staring at her, causing the young woman to blush a little. The door is stuck and I can't close it. AM said very nervously. I see, but what's wrong with your father, why isn't he here helping you? Naruto said a little seriously. He left a while ago, AM said, even more nervous as she watched him slowly approach. Don't you know it's very dangerous for a beautiful lady to be outside her house at this hour? Something bad could happen to her, Naruto said in a rather lustful tone of voice. I was just leaving, AM said, turning around to try to close the store, but stopped when she felt the blonde's hand wrap around her waist and the other go to one of her breasts. She turned her face to claim him, but he took advantage and kissed her. She tried in vain to free herself, but he stopped her and began to caress one of her breasts. She tried to resist, but every second his kiss and his caresses prevented her from thinking clearly, and she began to reciprocate the kiss. As time passed she stopped resisting and let herself be carried away by the sensations that arose in her body. He released her from his grip and she turned around, wrapped her arms around the blonde's neck and kissed him. She was a little shorter than him, so she had to stand on tiptoe, and the young man bent down a little. Without wasting time, they both entered the premises, separating themselves a little from her. He closed the door with a single pull and, putting away the large sword that he left leaning against the wall, he approached the brown-haired woman again, who looked at him doubtfully. What's your name? AM said, a little nervous. My name is Naruto, and yours? Said Naruto, approaching her. AM said, very nervous and a little scared as he approached. He put his arms around her waist and began to kiss her neck. This isn't right. We don't know each other, AM said, letting out a few sighs that were born thanks to the blonde's kisses. I know, that's why I'm doing this. I want to get to know you really well. Naruto said in a sensual tone of voice that fascinated the young woman and made her kiss him passionately. She couldn't resist any longer and gave herself completely to the blonde. After an hour, they both left the place. He was smiling, and she, quite tired, accompanied her home and headed to the hotel. That was awesome, Kyubi said, laughing. It's true. Naruto said in his mind, remembering what happened. You know, I've been thinking that maybe it's not necessary to destroy Konoha. Kyubi said, causing the young man to stop in his tracks and enter his mind. Say that again. Naruto said, very surprised. Well, look at these people, it's really clear they're sorry. Maybe it's time you forgot about getting revenge on them. Kyubi said, looking at the young man. I can't believe what you're saying. I thought you would be the one most interested in Konoha's destruction. Naruto said, looking at the monstrous fox. Remember that I wasn't trying to destroy this place, I was very peaceful sleeping in the mountains until Madara controlled my mind with his technique and sent me to attack the village. I wanted revenge for locking me up, But I no longer see the need to destroy Konoha since we can finish off Madara directly," said Kyubi very seriously. "And what about me? Do you want me to forget all the years of putting up with the mockery, the insults, the stares, and the blows from all those people? They should pay for what they did to me with their lives," Naruto said, very annoyed. "And what will happen to those who didn't hurt you? Tell me, what will you do with Hinata? Are you going to kill her? You know that she is not going to betray her village, much less leave with you. Look at all the effort she is making just so her father will recognize her. Are you going to kill her when the time comes?" said Kyubi looking at the blonde. "If she gets in my way, I'll kill her, along with anyone else who does the same. When the time comes, I'll ask her to leave. You know very well that the lives of others are not something I care about," said Naruto, returning to the real world. "You say that now, I wonder what you'll do when that time comes," thought Kyubi as he lay down. Naruto arrived at his room where he lay down, without taking off his clothes. The next morning after bathing he changed into other clothes which were the same as the previous ones, all his clothes are the same, and ate a little. He left the hotel heading to the training area and waited for Hinata to return. She arrived very excited, followed by the blonde's clone. "Hello, Naruto-kun," said Hinata a little blushed. "Naruto-kun?" thought Naruto very surprised. "Hello, today we're going to continue with your training," Naruto said a little thoughtfully. She went to a tree and took off her thick jacket and looked at the two blondes who were looking directly at her. She blushed and the original Naruto looked at his clone. "Why did you call me Naruto-kun?" Naruto said looking at the clone. "Find out," said the clone, disappearing, his information being passed on to the original. Flashback. Naruto left Hinata's house leaving the clone to take care of her. The young woman was sleeping peacefully, only complaining a little about the pain. He realized that she was a little sad and looked for some water and gave it to her to drink. "Thank you very much, Uzumaki-sama," Hinata said in a very respectful tone of voice, her cheeks tinged with red. "Don't tell me that, you make me feel old," said Naruto scratching his head. "Then Naruto-sama," said Hinata staring at him. "No," said Naruto very calmly. "Naruto-san," Hinata said, a little embarrassed. "That's better but no," said Naruto a little thoughtfully. "Naruto-kun," said Hinata blushing a lot. "I like it and if you call me that, I'll call you Hinata-chan," said Naruto smiling at the young woman who closed her eyes with her face completely red. Without further ado, the young woman slept all night and when she got up she went to the bathroom while the clone waited outside the apartment for her to be ready. She took a shower and put on a change of clothes similar to the ones from the day before and quickly ate a little and left with the clone towards the training area. "I feel a little strange," Hinata said, a little thoughtfully. "Explain yourself," said Naruto, staring at her. "I feel a little lighter," Hinata said, raising her hands. "It's just that your body is stronger now than before," said Naruto, and saw that they were already arriving at the training area where his original was waiting for them. End of flashback. "Interesting," Naruto said as he approached the young black-haired girl to continue his training. Chapter 12. Arc Destiny. Chapter 12. Training completed. The young woman was sitting on the floor and the blonde man stood in front of her with a paper which he handed to her and she took it. "Send chakra to that paper," Naruto said in a calm tone of voice. Hinata obeyed immediately and the paper became damp. "Suiton, your elemental affinity is with the water element," Naruto said a little seriously. "Then I have to train with water techniques," Hinata said, a little nervously. "More or less, I can pass you the water techniques that I know, as well as a trick that will be very useful. You see, my elemental affinity is wind. With the Kyubi chakra, I am able to use techniques of any element without any problem, but without it I can barely use wind. A man with whom I trained a few years ago taught me to use the nature chakra to help me in my elemental attacks. I can teach you to use the water in the environment for your attacks." "That is more or less what the second Hokage did," said Naruto very seriously. "Okay," said Hinata very nervously. Naruto approached the girl and placed his hands on the young woman's forehead. She began to see a series of images in her head of a large number of Suiton attacks and techniques. The images stopped and Hinata closed her eyes trying to order the images she saw. The blonde just looked at her analyzing what she did. She opened her eyes in surprise at all the techniques she possessed and wondering if she was really capable of using them properly. "Well, I helped you as much as I could, now I'm going to see how much you've improved," said Naruto getting up from the ground. "How?" said Hinata very nervously. "Simple, a fight between you and me. I want to see the results of the training for myself," Naruto said very seriously. "A battle?" Hinata said, a little scared. "Yes, that's the only way to see if the training worked," Naruto said very calmly. "Yes," said Hinata, not very convinced and very nervous. "Well, first we need a larger place with a large water source. I still don't recommend using the nature chakra technique. It's better to practice that later," Naruto said, a little seriously. Okay, we can go to another training area like one, but we need the Hokage's permission, Hinata said, a little nervously. Good. Said Naruto, creating a clone that went straight to the Hokage tower. The clone sped through the streets, surprising many of the villagers, and reached the tower. He entered the office of the blonde leader of Konoha. She was surprised by Naruto's request and gave him permission to use that area. She handed him a paper authorizing the blonde to train there. As soon as the clone left, he called Hiashi Hyuga to inform him of the fight between his daughter and the Jinchuriki. The news of the battle between Naruto and Hinata spread throughout the Hyuga clan, and among some villagers and ninjas, they learned that Naruto was training Hinata and that she had become very strong. Curiosity was very great, so when the clone delivered the message to the blonde and they arrived at the training area, there was a large number of spectators waiting to watch the fight, and among them was Hiashi, who was very serious. They're a bit gossipy in this village, Naruto thought, a little seriously. Nah, Naruto-kun, I can't. Said Hinata, very scared. If you can, Hinata-chan, you must put that shame aside. Your father is there. Show him that you are strong, not weak. Naruto said, looking at the girl. But. Said Hinata, very scared and nervous. Look, you're stronger than you can imagine. You just have to believe in yourself. Show everyone who thought you were weak that you're stronger than them. Naruto said, very determined. Yes. Said Hinata, blushing a lot at the blonde's comment that had given her courage. They reached the center of the area where many ninjas were interested in the young people. Naruto left Samehada on the ground, took off his cape and left the samurai sword he had on his belt and placed it next to his other weapon. I take out a scroll and take out a kunai holder and throw it at the blue-haired girl. I want you to fight like you want to kill me, understood? Naruto said very seriously. She just nodded and, still not very convinced, made a series of seals with her hands, activating her Byakugan. The blonde smiled at this and looked at her fixedly. Let's see what she's capable of, Naruto thought as he got into a position similar to the blue-haired girl's. In a moment and at great speed, the blonde disappeared and appeared in front of the Hyuga, about to launch a kick, to everyone's surprise, and the young woman did not lose sight of the young man with red eyes and dodged the attack, and jumping away and making a series of seals, she launched a water dragon that shot jets of water from its mouth at very high pressure towards Naruto, who created by making a series of seals a whirlwind of fire that protected him from the attack. Both attacks cancelled each other out, and Naruto looked at Hinata with a wide smile on his face. A large and powerful jet of water came out of the Hyuga's mouth directly at Naruto, who dodged the attack and launched himself at an incredible speed at the Hyuga, grabbed one of her legs and threw her into the air. She recovered in the air and fell skillfully to the ground. She saw how the blonde launched himself at her, and they engaged in a battle of pure taijutsu. The blows that one threw were skillfully blocked by the other. The few blows that the Hyuga had given the young man had been of no use, since each chakra point that she closed opened almost immediately. The girl concentrated more chakra in her hand and created a Rasengan with which she tried to hit the blonde, but he dodged it by jumping backwards. She concentrated more chakra in the sphere, and it turned into water and began to spin violently. Will he be able to do that technique? Naruto thought, very intrigued. This will be interesting. This girl is stronger than this boy imagined, Kyubi thought in the darkness, watching the battle through his host's eyes. Suiton Racing Tsunami. Said Hinata, and the water sphere broke, sending a large wave straight to the blonde. Making some seals, the blonde created an ice beam that came out of his mouth, freezing the large wave, creating a large wall of ice. I never imagined you could use my Suiton release Rasengan. Congratulations. Naruto said with a big smile. Thank you, said Hinata, blushing a lot. The blonde launched himself at Hinata, and she spun around herself, creating a large sphere of energy that sent the blonde flying backwards. As soon as he hit it, a little stunned by the blow, she took advantage and began to hit him in many places, closing all his chakra points. She moved away believing she had won, but to everyone's surprise, the young man just clenched his fists and with a little pain, opened all his points. The Hyuga was very surprised, as was her father. Without wasting time, he again launched an attack with two Rasengan, one in each hand. She again spun, making her barrier, but before impacting with it, the blonde joined his two energy spheres, creating a large one which, when colliding with the barrier, caused the blue-haired girl to be thrown a little hurt. The barrier is good, but not good enough. You need to improve it. Naruto said, seeing the girl stand up. Okay, Hinata said, a little pained. She has spirit, Naruto thought, looking at the girl. She began to run at great speed and, taking several kunes, she threw them towards Naruto, who caught them in the air and returned them against the girl, who dodged them while making several seals. A large amount of water came out towards the blonde, who ran towards it and dodged it, only to see Hinata do another series of seals, and a large tornado of water hit Naruto, lifting him many meters in the air. Naruto's body fell heavily on the ground, and when she saw it, she got worried and went out to see how he was. That hurt, Naruto said, standing up with one hand on his head. I'm sorry. said Hinata very embarrassed. Why? Naruto said, a little surprised. For hitting you like that. Hinata said a little scared. You don't have to apologize, on the contrary, I have to congratulate you, that was amazing, Naruto said very happily. Seriously, really? Hinata said, a little blushed. Yes, now all you have to do is practice on your own and you'll see how strong you'll become, Naruto said excitedly. But aren't you going to keep training me? Hinata said, very afraid of the answer. If you want, but I won't be able to train you that easily anymore. You learn the other techniques naturally, Naruto said, a little seriously. Please, Naruto-kun, I want to keep training with you to get stronger. Said Hinata, very nervous and very happy to spend more time with the young man. Hinata said a man's voice near the two young men. The blue-haired girl turned around and saw her father staring at her. Father? Said Hinata very nervous and happy because her father was talking to her. That was very impressive, where you learned all that, Hiashi said very seriously. It was Naruto-kun, he trained me. Hinata said a little nervously. I see you're a great teacher. Finally, my daughter has the courage to fight to the bitter end and prove her worth, Hiashi said, looking at the red-eyed blonde. Hinata is strong, she just needed a little courage. Said Naruto looking at the blue-haired girl who blushed. I know, unfortunately I never managed to get her to show what she was capable of. Nothing I did could bring out the courage she had inside her, Hiashi said, looking at his daughter. I imagined it, Naruto said, looking at the wide-eyed man. Father, when you said I was weak, you meant for me to fight seriously, Hinata said, very surprised. That's right, I always tried to provoke you into showing what you were capable of, but you didn't want to fight. No matter what I did, you always hid and let your fear prevent you from showing your true abilities. Hiashi said, looking at his daughter. The blue-haired girl shed a few tears, drawing the blonde's attention. You can forget about your engagement with your cousin, and from today on, you can return home if you wish. I've already spoken with your teacher about having you reinstated with your old team, Hiashi said, smiling a little, then turning around and leaving with his clan's entourage, along with several villagers who were talking to each other. Hinata still hadn't reacted to her father's last comment, and when she did, she hugged Naruto, who was very surprised by the wide-eyed girl's sudden attack of happiness. When she realized what she was doing, she immediately separated from the young man with her face completely red. I'm sorry. Said Hinata very nervously. Don't worry. Naruto said a little blushed. What a hug, I could feel her body so well, Naruto thought as he remembered the hug. Sweet character, angelic face and goddess body, if this kid doesn't do anything to her, I will. Thought Kyubi smiling pervertedly. You better go home quickly. I'm sure you're very anxious to get back to your family, Naruto said, to which she just bowed and ran off with a big smile. That's how happy anyone must feel when a parent is proud of them. Naruto thought very seriously. He saw that everyone had left, but he felt a presence nearby. Get out of there, whoever you are, Naruto said in an authoritative tone of voice. From the shadows a woman with light purple hair and dressed in a trench coat and a rather revealing outfit appeared in front of the young man, looking defiant. You can't fool me, you're not Naruto Uzumaki, you're Orochimaru. Said Anko taking out a kunai. Chapter 13. Dark Destiny. Chapter 13. New Friendships. The young man with hair as golden as the sun looked very confused at the kunoichi who had just appeared in front of him and had called him as the Sannin of the Snakes. Orochimaru? Said Naruto very confused. Don't act like you don't know anything, I could feel you from the moment I saw you, Anko said, touching her left shoulder. The cursed seal that Viper put on her, Naruto thought, remembering the girl. You're Anko Mitarashi, right? Naruto said, remembering the woman's name. I knew it, Anko said, pulling out a kunai and launching herself at the blonde. Naruto dodged the attack and pulling out some snakes from the sleeves of his shirt, he caught the kunoichi and immobilized her. Look, miss, first of all, I'm not Orochimaru. He's already dead. I killed him myself. Secondly, if you feel it in me, there's a very easy explanation for that, and I'll gladly explain it to you if you calm down. Naruto said in a kind tone of voice. The young woman remained silent for a few seconds, looking into the blonde's eyes and nodded affirmatively. He let go of her and she put the gun away. You see, I didn't kill Orochimaru. I absorbed his soul along with his techniques and memories. It seemed like a waste to lose all those techniques and knowledge, so I assimilated his soul. That's why a part of his essence remains in me, just like in others. Naruto said calmly. I understand. Said Anko, calmer now. Your cursed seal is bothering you, isn't it? Naruto said, looking at the kunoichi's shoulder. A little. Said Anko very seriously. If you want, I can take it off, but it's a bit painful, Naruto said, a little seriously. Really? Can you take it off me? Anko said anxiously, grabbing the blonde boy by the collar of his shirt. Yes I can, but if he breaks my neck, I doubt I can do it. Naruto said mockingly. I'm sorry, Anko said, a little embarrassed by her anxiety attack. Well, we should go somewhere a little more private first if you want me to take it off, Naruto said, gathering his weapons and cloak. Follow me, said Anko, disappearing from the place. There are many beautiful women in this village, Naruto said, smiling. Hurry up and see if you can achieve something with this one, said Kyubi very excitedly. You're always thinking about that, aren't you? Naruto thought, running after the young woman. Look who's talking, as if you hadn't thought of it before, Kyubi said, smiling. The blonde man followed the young woman to an apartment in a somewhat remote area of the village, a neighborhood that seemed quite private. Come in, said Anko, entering the apartment and leaving the door open. The young Jinchuriki entered the house of the former student of the Snake Sannin and took off his cloak and left his large sword leaning against the wall before staring at the woman. What should I do? Anko said, looking at the blonde attentively. You're nothing, just hold on because this is going to hurt a lot, Naruto said, not very seriously. Okay. Anko said, a little worried. The mercenary began to make a series of seals, and when he finished his fangs lengthened and became very similar to those of a snake, he approached the young woman and bit her neck right above the cursed seal. Anko clung to the young man with all her strength due to the pain she felt, which seemed as if she were being burned, while he for his part continued to bite the kunoichi's neck. Despite the pain, Anko endured all the pain while the seal was clearing until it finally disappeared and the young man separated from her. The kunoichi's breathing was very agitated and her neck still hurt. Naruto watched as a little blood came out of her neck and approaching her neck again, he licked the blood, producing a small sigh from the young woman. In the blonde's mind, hundreds of images of the woman flashed by, giving him a wealth of information about her and what she knew, techniques and information about the village. Her cheeks were flushed by the blonde's boldness and she looked at him, he looked at her too, and they stared at each other for a few seconds without saying anything and without moving. Why? Why did you do that? Said Anko, blushing a lot. I think we'll get some action, Kyubi said, smiling wickedly. It seems so, thought Naruto, looking into the eyes of the beautiful woman. Well, you're so beautiful I couldn't resist, Naruto said, smiling sensually. Really? Anko said mischievously. This is going to be good, Kyubi said, noticing how forward the woman was. That's right, a woman as beautiful as you always makes me lose my mind, Naruto said in a flirtatious tone. You must be very brave or very confident to say that. If you think that's how you'll get anything out of me, you're very wrong, Anko said, smiling maliciously. Really? And what must I do to be granted such an honor? Naruto said, approaching the young woman's lips. Why don't you find out? Anko said challengingly. The young man brought his lips to the woman's and began to kiss her. She reciprocated the kiss and wrapped her arms around his neck. They both fell to the floor as he placed himself on top of her and increased the rhythm of the kiss. From one moment to the next, the blonde felt a very strong pain in his lower lip and tasted blood, and then he looked at the kunoichi, who looked at him amusedly. I warn you, I like to play rough, Anko said, smiling maliciously. Well, I think me too, Naruto said as his lip healed. If this woman wants to play like this, then fine, give her merciless, said Kyubi, laughing maniacally. Whatever you say, Naruto thought, capturing the woman's arms and kissing her passionately. He brought his hands to the ninja's blouse and with a strong grip he tore it, leaving her with only the top she was wearing, which after a few seconds suffered the same fate as the previous garment. One by one, each of the kunoichi's garments was destroyed by the young man's hands, and she was more than fascinated by the ferocity with which he kissed her. After at least an hour of enjoying each other's bodies, both ended up very exhausted, especially the kunoichi, who practically fainted from exhaustion. Naruto sat on the floor resting while the young woman almost fainted on the floor. Naruto took her in his arms and took her to her room, covered her and began to change. She woke up and saw him as she went to the door. We'll do this again, right? Anko said, smiling. Just say when, Naruto said, turning to look at her as he left the house. The young man realized that at least an hour had passed since he finished the fight with the Hyuga. A little hungry, he went to the ramen stand, while in the Hokage Tower, the council and the clan leaders discussed a new way to convince the Kyubi's Jinchuriki to help them in the war. Naruto walked thinking about what happened with Orochimaru's former student. That woman was a beast, Kyubi said, laughing pervertedly. I know, I was the one he hurt, but it was interesting. Also, the information I got from his memories was very interesting. Now I know where the shelters are for the villagers in case of an attack on the village, and also how the ninjas will act in the attack, not to mention the information I have on many ninjas in the village. I think I'll have to approach the leader of the Hyuga clan and the elders of the council. They will give me a lot of information about the village. Naruto thought, smiling grimly. I see you still want to destroy the village, do what you want, the only thing that matters to me is killing that bastard Madara, the others don't matter to me, said Kyubi, lying down in the darkness. I know, this filthy village's days are numbered, Naruto thought, looking at the ramen stand in the distance. Chapter 14. Dark Destiny. Chapter 14. The Perfect Killer. The Kyubi Jinchuriki walked slowly towards the ramen stand thinking about what he was going to do. He already knew how the Konoha ninjas would react to an attack, and now he could plan how to do even more damage and finish them all off at once. Now he just had to wait to recover, and then he would leave to return with his troops and attack the village without leaving a single living being in the place. Hey, I have a question. Kyubi said in the blonde's mind. Which one? Naruto said in his mind. What's going to happen to the Hyuga? Kyubi said, a little confused by what his almost foster son would do. I don't know, I would prefer not to hurt her and for her to join me, but I'm not sure she will. Look at everything she did just to show she was strong. You know what I did to her is very painful and she didn't complain. I don't think she'll be happy about what I'm going to do to the village. Naruto thought a little seriously. You should have destroyed the village before meeting the girl, that way it would have been easier, Kyubi said, a little seriously. I know, you always tell me the same thing and you know the reason, Naruto said in his mind as he watched the ramen stand get closer and closer. Old man Sarutobi, waiting for the old man to die and then attacking the village is a very bad idea. Said Kyubi yawning a little. You know very well that I would never try to hurt the old man. He was the only one who treated me well in this dump. The least I could do for him was wait for his natural death and then be done with this place. Naruto said, pausing slightly. If you killed Orochimaru for saying that he was going to kill him when he invaded Konoha, you have loyalty to the old man, and I can't change that. What I don't understand is what are you going to do with him when you destroy the village? Said Kyubi very seriously. I can't wait for him to die of old age anymore. The best thing I can do for him is to end his life quickly and painlessly, but I can't do anything else. Naruto said in his mind as he continued walking. When he was about to reach the ramen stand, an explosion occurred in the Hokage Tower. Many ninjas went to see what was happening, and the blonde was no exception, but it was his curiosity to see what was happening that made him move without even thinking. Upon arrival there were several ninjas with a rock symbol attacking several ambus. The number of enemy ninjas was at least 30, and the amount of chakra they had showed that they were very strong, stronger than the village ninjas. In the distance he could see the old man Sarutobi watching the battle alongside Tsunade and her black-haired assistant. An enemy ninja who had remained hidden launched himself against the old man and the Hokage. Without even thinking, Naruto moved at such a speed that he only left a golden trail behind him, grabbing the enemy ninja by the neck and breaking it in a matter of thousandths of a second. Sarutobi and the blonde along with the black-haired girl only saw how the Kyubi Jinchuriki appeared at their side with the corpse of the enemy ninja. What happened? Sarutobi said, looking at the blonde. It seems you're getting older and don't realize they're going to attack you from behind, Naruto said, looking at the other ninjas. Thank you, Tsunade said, looking at the red-eyed young man. You know, if your ninjas can't take on those trash then you're in serious trouble. I better take care of them myself. I need to kill someone, I'm kind of bored. Said Naruto throwing the enemy ninja's corpse to the floor. He put Samehada on the ground and disappeared to reappear behind the rock ninjas. One of the ninjas saw him and launched himself at Naruto, but he only reached out and grabbed the enemy ninja by the neck and slammed him against the wall, shattering his skull. The rock ninjas stopped their attack and looked at the blonde. The other Konoha ninjas, as well as others who appeared, watched the fight with interest. The enemy ninjas surrounded the blonde and began to take out kunes and weapons. The red-eyed blonde just smiled and disappeared, appearing in front of a ninja, and with his hand, he pierced his chest and ripped out his heart. Another ninja attacked him upon seeing his dead friend, but Naruto kicked him in the chest, destroying his ribsage. Another ninja ran at the Jinchuriki who just turned around and kicked the enemy ninja in the knee, breaking it. The ninja fell to the ground in pain and only felt how the mercenary placed his skin on his neck and with a quick movement broke his neck. The other ninjas began to get scared when they saw the blonde-haired ninja who was killing them effortlessly. Naruto raised his hand and the great sword headed towards him and then stared at them. Naruto just began to gather a good amount of chakra into the weapon, and with a powerful saber blow, he sent a cutting wave that completely shattered all the ninjas, leaving their bodies mutilated everywhere. Damn, I thought they were going to last longer. It was very disappointing, Naruto said, looking at the hand he had used to impale the enemy ninja, which was stained with blood. Concentrating a little heat on his hand, the blood evaporated completely, leaving the hand clean. Then he began to walk, while the ninjas who saw the battle moved out of his way with a little fear. There are no good ninjas anywhere anymore. None of them put up a fight. Naruto thought, disappointed. What did you expect? You are much stronger than those. Said Kyubi in the young man's mind. No way, I don't think I'll ever find someone I can fight with all my power. Naruto thought a little sadly. Absolute power has its disadvantages. Even without my chakra running through your body, there is no one who can last long against you in a battle. I only ask one thing of you. Kyubi said a little seriously. Which one? Naruto thought with his eyes closed. When you fight Madara, kill him slowly. I want him to suffer and wish he was dead over and over again before you kill him. Said Kyubi very seriously. No problem, Naruto said, opening his eyes as a girl ran up and tripped over him. The villagers watched as the little girl fell to the ground and dropped some apples she was holding in her hands. With some fear, they watched as the blonde man stretched his hand towards her. Naruto helped her up and helped her pick up the apples. At that moment, a man came running in the same direction the girl was coming from. There you are, thief, the man said, approaching the girl threateningly, who hid behind the blonde. The man, upon seeing the blonde, stepped back a little, scared when he saw those eyes, as sharp as blood, that looked at him coldly. What's the problem? Naruto said in a rather cold voice. Hey, she stole some apples, the man said, visibly terrified. How much? Naruto said, taking out some coins and giving them to the man. That's fine, the man said, taking the coins and quickly leaving. Thank you, sir. Said the girl, looking a little embarrassed at the young man. Naruto looked at her and noticed that she couldn't have been more than 10 years old. She had disheveled and untidy black hair, her clothes were very dirty, as was her skin, which showed that she didn't live on the street and she probably hadn't bathed in days. Her eyes were very black and her skin was quite white. What's your name? Naruto said, looking at the girl. Kaori, the girl said, a little intimidated when she saw the blonde's eyes. Where are your parents? Naruto said a little seriously. I don't have one, it's just me alone. Kaori said a little seriously. Where do you live? Naruto said, looking at the girl with interest. Wherever it is, I have no home. Said Kaori quite seriously. I see, and I imagine you stole so you could eat, Naruto said, staring at her. Yes. Said Kaori looking at the blonde. Would you like to come with me? Naruto said, smiling. What? Said Kaori very confused. I live in the land of waves. There you could live in a house with other children and you wouldn't have to steal to eat anymore, Naruto said, kneeling down until he was at the girl's level. You mean it, sir? Kaori said, very surprised. Why would I lie to you? Naruto said, smiling. Sure, I want to go. Kaori said a little cheerfully. Okay, then follow me, you should take a shower and put on something decent. Said Naruto, walking straight to the hotel. Yes, sir. Said Kaori running excitedly after him. You really like helping the less fortunate, Kyubi said, laughing inside the blonde's mind. Shut up, they remind me of what happened to me when I left the village. Remember that I slept wherever the night fell and ate whatever I found. It was not until I met Zabuza and Haku that I became a mercenary and started earning money. I just don't like seeing children having to do this kind of things to survive. Naruto thought a little seriously. I've always said you're very curious, you don't hesitate to kill your enemy, but you always want to help defenseless children, Kyubi said, laughing. Children are the only innocent beings that exist. You don't have to pay for anyone's sins. At least that's how it should be. Naruto thought as he arrived at the hotel with his little guest. Here we are, Naruto said, pointing at the hotel. Is this where you live, sir? Kaori said, looking at the building in amazement. As long as I'm here, yes. Said Naruto, entering with the girl. They arrived at the blonde's room and she went to take a bath while Naruto ordered food to the room. Tonight I will seize the skills and knowledge of all of Konoha's strongest ninjas, Naruto thought, smiling maliciously. Ni-san, I've already taken a bath. Said Kaori, coming out of the bathroom. There's some food over there, Naruto said, pointing at the table. The little girl saw the food and ate it so fast she almost choked. She lay down on the bed while Naruto watched as night fell. Soon I'll regain all my powers and finish off the last remaining Akatsuki, Naruto thought as he covered the girl wearing one of his shirts. First things first, take the Byakugan of the Hyuga family and the Sharingan of that black-haired man you almost killed. Also go after that ninja who saved you as a child, Kakashi Haddock. That ninja must have techniques that will be useful to us. You have information on the former student of that disgusting viper. Look for targets with great skills and steal them. When we leave this village you will leave much stronger. You're lucky, Naruto. If they hadn't saved you in the cave, we would never have had direct access to the most powerful abilities of this village. Said Kyubi smiling. Nobody knows who they're working for, Naruto thought, watching the village lights go out. It's time, Naruto said, opening the window and preparing for action. It's going to be a long night. Kyubi said laughing. Chapter 15. Dark Destiny. Chapter 15. Voices from the past echoes of today. Night had fallen upon the most powerful ninja village in the world. Its inhabitants slept peacefully without any worries and prepared for the next day. Some ninjas watched that nothing out of the ordinary happened, but evading them was no challenge for a shadow that moved stealthily through the streets of the great village. Entering the houses one by one where he knew there was someone with knowledge that would serve him in the future, he would approach his target, immobilize him with a soft but powerful genjutsu, and then bite him, extract a little blood, copy his abilities and memories, and then heal the wound and leave without him noticing. Once he did, he would go for another, and so he spent the whole night. His movements were so fast and so effective that not even Kakashi himself knew the moment when the blonde entered, put him to sleep more than he already was, bit him, copied his techniques and reviewed his memories, and left his house. It was there when the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi was a little silent, when he noticed not only the large amount of jutsus he learned from the copy ninja and his techniques, but also the memories he had about the fourth Hokage. So that's what your father was like. You were a good person and very idealistic, but I still don't understand how you were able to lock Kyubi inside me and condemn me to this living hell. It's a shame that this Kakashi was left unconscious in that fight. Naruto thought as he saw the copy ninja's memories. This is my mother, it seems she died giving birth to me, too bad, she was beautiful, and it seems she loved me very much. He thought as he saw a woman with red hair and a peaceful look, but with a very violent character. Now I know where you got your character from, said Kyubi looking at the memories. It seems so, Naruto said in his mind. Well, what are you waiting for, go on, said Kyubi very seriously. Okay, Naruto said in his mind, continuing to walk around the homes of the village's most important people. In a matter of an hour Naruto had copied the skills of all the clans and ninjas of Konoha, except for the Hyuga clan and the third Hokage and the council members. I entered the great Hyuga mansion with two objectives in mind, the leader of the Hyuga clan and Niji Hyuga. I entered the house and went straight to the room of each of the two. Once I found them I copied their abilities, and when I heard a noise I hid in a room. There was Hinata sleeping with a smile and very calm. I see I'm already on my way home, Naruto thought, smiling. Well yes, that's what it seems, let's go quickly, said Kyubi yawning. Okay, Naruto said, but before leaving he covered the Hyuga well and shot out of the house. The Anbu barracks were the next to be attacked by him, then he went to the house of the council elders and did his technique. Danzu was the next, and after that Naruto began to understand many things, but none of them interested him, only what they had done to him. I'll settle accounts with those three later, Naruto thought very seriously. The next residence to attack was the house of the former Hokage. He entered, and as he did in the previous houses he applied his genjutsu, put him to sleep and bit him. Once he did he ran out of the house, and having completed his mission, he sat on a branch of a tree in a park, organizing all the information he had obtained. Among the images he saw among the Hokage's memories there was one that left him completely stunned. Flashback of the third Hokage. A large number of ninjas were fighting against a gigantic being in the form of a nine-tailed fox. This creature was going like fire, destroying everything in its path, and nothing, and no one seemed to be able to stop it. The kind of lightning moved around the beast, and kunais with explosive seals and other attacks came out of it, but these could not even scratch the skin of such a beast. The lightning stopped and the figure of a man emerged from it. He had blonde hair and eyes as blue as the sky. It's not possible. At this speed, he'll reach the city in no time, the man said, very seriously. Minato, the situation has gotten out of hand. Nothing we're doing is working, said a man with long white hair. Jiraiya-sama, we just can't allow him to keep going, Minato said, staring at the Kyubi with a lot of concern in his eyes. Hokage-sama, said a ninja who appeared in front of the blonde. What's wrong? Minato said, looking at the ninja. Your wife is dead, the ninja said very seriously. What? Minato said very surprised. She hemorrhaged and the medical ninjas couldn't save her. The boy survived, but he's very weak. He might not survive long, the ninja said, looking worriedly at the Hokage. Minato, I know you're feeling ill, but the village needs you now. We must stop the Kyubi here and now, or the village will be devastated, said the third Hokage, appearing in front of him. I know, Minato said, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to spill out of his eyes. What do we do? Jiraiya said, looking at the invincible beast that was approaching Konoha, destroying everything and everyone in its path. How bad is my son? Minato said, looking at the ninja. Quite a bit. His wife died when she refused the doctor's order to sacrifice the baby, but the operation was complicated and he's in very serious condition, the ninja said as seriously as he could. Bring it. Minato said very seriously. Right away, said the disappearing ninja in a puff of smoke. What are you thinking? Sarutobi said, looking at the blonde. I have to protect the village and save my son, and I think I know how. I just hope it works. Minato said seriously, but his desperation was evident in his eyes. What will you do? Said Jiraiya very worried about his pupil. The sealing technique I created is the only way to save my son and the village. I won't allow him to die too. Minato said with great conviction. But you will die when you use it, said Sarutobi very seriously and staring at his successor. That doesn't matter to me, my son and the village, that's all that matters, I'll give my life just so they can survive. Minato said, and immediately the ninja arrived with a little boy in his arms. The man approaches the ninja and takes the newborn in his arms, the baby opens his bright blue eyes and looks curiously at the man who was carrying him, the man caresses one of his cheeks and the baby takes it in his hands, this act caused a small tear to fall from the man's eye that fell on the infant's forehead. I hope you can forgive me for this someday, Minato said, hugging the baby tightly. Sarutobi-sama, Jiraiya-sama, I want to give you my last wish. I want you to take care of my son. He's going to save the village by containing this creature inside him. I want you to consider him a hero. Minato said, looking at the two men who looked down and clenched their fists in a sign of helplessness. The blonde bit his hand and making some seals called Gamabunta and launched himself against the beast while making some seals and crashed into the beast that disappeared. Instantly the fourth Hokage fell lifeless on the enormous amphibian and the cries of the newborn broke the sepulchral silence that surrounded the place. The elderly Hokage approached the little boy and took him in his arms, checking his condition, while several ninjas who saw everything from afar approached to see what was happening. Your father was very brave, I know you'll forgive him one day, Sarutobi said, caressing the baby's cheeks, which now had 3 whiskers on each one. End of the third Hokage's flashback. I didn't know that was what happened, Naruto thought, looking up at the sky. Me neither, now I understand why when he entered your body it felt very weak, he did it to save you, and at the same time the village, he may have been a wretch, but he was a wretch with a good heart, you don't see many like that. Said Kyubi a little thoughtfully. I know. Naruto thought, his gaze a little lost. What will you do now? Said Kyubi very seriously. I don't know, the council was the one who spread all those rumors about me, and they paid several villagers to mistreat me, they wanted to make me aggressive, so they would have an excuse to kill me or be able to control me. Naruto thought angrily. Yes, you should finish them off. Kyubi said angrily. I will, don't doubt it, I will make them pay dearly for what they did to me, but I still haven't decided what I will do with the villagers. Those idiots were the ones who mistreated me as a child. I can't forgive what they did to me. They must pay. Naruto thought, his red eyes shining with rage. You must rest, you have to give your body time to fully develop the abilities you copied, it's too much you absorbed even for you. Kyubi said very seriously. You're right, I'm going to sleep, Naruto thought, disappearing and reappearing in the hotel room. You shouldn't use that technique without my chakra. Kyubi said angrily. I'm so tired now. You can scold me tomorrow. Naruto thought, taking off his clothes and wearing only his pants, lying down on the bed next to the little girl who was moving uncomfortably. She must be so used to sleeping on the floor that sleeping in a bed must be strange for her. He thought, stroking the little girl's head. What do you think of your father now? The Kyubi said, very intrigued. I don't know anything anymore. The only thing I knew about him was what you told me and what happened to me because of him, but with what I saw, I don't know what to think. I have to think very carefully about what I'm going to do from now on. Naruto thought, settling into bed to fall asleep. See you tomorrow. Kyubi said a little thoughtfully. See you tomorrow. Naruto thought, closing his eyes and trying to fall asleep. Chapter 16. Dark Destiny. Chapter 16. Plans and New Threats. On a bridge near the Land of Waves and whose name was the Great Naruto Bridge, there was a young man of at least 18 years old with a black suit similar to the one used by the Kyubi Jinchuriki. He was going at full speed towards a black and white building located right in the middle of the town. The building was very well guarded by several subjects with similar suits, only different by the weapons they had. He walked straight in and went to the main office, where a young man with a feminine appearance and a man with bandages on his face with a large sword behind him were standing. Inari-kun, it's good to see you back. Said the young man smiling. Thank you Haku-san, by the way, is there any news about Naruto-sama? Said Inari looking at the black-haired young man. Another one asking about that idiot, no, we still don't know anything, said the bandaged man, signing some papers. Please, Zabuza-san, don't get upset. It's normal for everyone to be worried about him. He's taking too long and we don't know anything about him. Haku said, looking at his companion. I must remind you that he's only been gone for 7 days. Remember that 2 years ago he disappeared for a month and when we found him, he was in Suna spending quality time with the Kazukiya's sister and several women from that village. Zabuza said, a little annoyed. But this time he went after the remaining members of Akatsuki. He refused to let us accompany him, but he's taking too long. He almost never does this. Inari said, a little worried. You two are really annoying. I recently told Teiya-san and the other fans of that inconsiderate guy that if I don't hear from him in 2 more days, I'll give the order to look for him. Until then, concentrate on your work and leave me alone, you're going to drive me crazy. Said Zabuza, looking at a pile of papers to sign and review. Naruto, how did you dare disappear like that? I hope you're okay because when I find you I'm going to cut you in two. You'll pay for letting me do your job. Zabuza thought, looking at the not so small amount of permits and applications he had to review one by one. Why can't I do it as easily as he does? He just creates some shadow clones and that's it. He thought as he sighed and picked up another folder. At that time in Konoha, a young woman with blue-black hair was launching a large number of attacks against a red-eyed blonde man without landing a single blow while a girl watched the fight with interest. "Come on Hinata-chan, move faster," said Naruto encouraging the girl. She fell to her knees on the ground from the effort made while he approached her to help her up. "That was good, you're getting faster every time," Naruto said excitedly. "Really?" Hinata said, a little agitated. "Sure, not many make me have to dodge their blows, I must admit the Hyuga style is interesting," Naruto said, smiling. But even if I hit your chakra points, you can open them again, and it's as if I didn't do anything," Hinata said, staring at him with a slight blush on her cheeks. "Don't think it's that easy. It hurts a little to open them and your blows really hurt. Come on, get up and let's continue. I want to try something that might help you," Naruto said, looking closely at the girl. "What thing?" Hinata said, looking at him curiously. "What if you could use two elements?" Naruto said, smiling somewhat maliciously. "Two?" said Hinata very surprised. "Yes, it's easy for me of course, I think I can arrange for you to do the same," Naruto said a little thoughtfully. "Really?" Hinata said, somewhat excited. "Yeah, let's see, since you're water I could maybe give you the lightning element so you can do more damage or the air element so you can mix them and create ice, those two are the best, which do you prefer?" said Naruto looking at the girl. I think the wind one," said Hinata looking at the blonde. "Very good choice, so you can be like Haku," said Naruto excitedly. Who is Haku?" Hinata said, looking at him in confusion. "Well, he's a good friend. He taught me things about life that kept me from becoming something different. Maybe if I hadn't met him, I'd be someone who only wants to kill or worse. I learned a lot from him and he's almost like a brother to me. But to be honest, the first time I saw him, I thought he was a woman," Naruto said, laughing a little. "You, woman?" said Hinata very confused. "Yes, what happens is that he has the face of a girl, in fact, of a very beautiful young woman, and that's why everyone mistakes him for one when they meet him, it's somewhat strange," said Naruto laughing a lot, making the Hyuga laugh a little too. The young man stood behind the girl and his eyes began to shine while his hands acquired a golden glow, a chakra discharge entered the woman's body and after a slight pain, she got up somewhat dazed. "Okay, now you can use wind and water as well as combine them to use ice. I gave you the techniques I know, so you should master them, but practice them anyway, so you get used to them," Naruto said in a calm tone of voice. "Shall we continue, shall we keep training then?" Hinata said, looking at the blonde. "Of course," Naruto said smiling. "Hey, now that you mentioned the baby face, don't you think you should tell him where we are?" Kyubi said a little thoughtfully. "Yeah, right. I'll take advantage and tell him to send a squad to find Madara and the guy with a weird Jujutsu, so when I get out of here I'll find them easily," Naruto thought a little seriously. "If you want, I'll warn him," Kyubi said a little seriously. "Really?" Naruto thought a little surprised. "Yes, so I'll take advantage and get out of here for a bit, just create a clone and pass my consciousness to it, my chakra is still recovering, so while my consciousness is in the clone, my chakra will continue to charge," said Kyubi very seriously. "Okay." Naruto thought a little confused. Hinata and Kaori looked at him confused by the sudden silence, and it was then that he made a series of seals, and after a red explosion, a shadow clone appeared with the difference that this one had completely red hair and his eyes were the same only with an expression of indescribable malice. The biggest surprise was when they both saw the blonde's eyes, which were once red and now had a sky blue color that almost made the Hyuga faint. "I can finally stretch a little," said Dorikid, stretching his arms toward the sky. "Go and tell me, but don't do anything weird. Remember, whatever you do won't be a secret from me," Naruto said, a little seriously. "Bitter, I liked you better when you obeyed everything I said without question," Kyubi said a little annoyed. "Well, times change and so do I, you know that better than anyone Kyubi-sama, now go and do what you want, but please don't do anything weird," said Naruto scratching his head in concern. "Don't worry, I won't do anything you wouldn't do," said Kyubi, disappearing in a beam of light. "That's precisely what worries me," Naruto said worriedly. "Nah, Naruto-kun, that one." "Was that Kyubi?" Hinata said a little fearfully. "Yes, I sent him to let my teammates know I'm in Konoha so they don't worry or something," Naruto said smiling. "Your eyes," Kaori said, approaching the young man. "What's wrong with them?" Naruto said, looking at the little girl. "They're not red anymore, they're blue," Kaori said, very surprised. "The thing is, blue is the natural color of my eyes." When I have red eyes, it's because I let Kyubi see and feel what I feel. We share the same body. Now that his essence has left me for a while, I've regained the natural color of my eyes. Naruto said calmly. You look better like this, Kaori said, smiling. You don't look so dangerous this way, do you, Hinata-san? She said, looking at the brunette. Ah, well, I don't know, he's good, always. Said Hinata with a completely red face. This comment caused a small blush in the blue-eyed blonde who then shook his head a little and looked at the young ninja. Let's continue, Naruto said, getting into a fighting stance. Yes, said Hinata, getting into the Hyuga fighting stance as the little girl moved away from the area to a safe distance. The pearl-eyed girl closed her eyes, concentrating on the wind, water, and ice techniques she now possessed. She opened her eyes and saw how the blonde man waited for her to attack. She made a series of seals, and ice stakes formed above her, heading towards the mercenary. The blonde quickly pulled out his sword, which burst into flames, and just by waving it, he melted the ice. This left the Kunoichi and the girl who was watching the fight very surprised. Don't forget that I'm not a ninja. I'm trained in the ninja arts, but I'm an assassin trained in various forms of combat, Naruto said, a little seriously. I forgot. Hinata said, a little embarrassed and a little sad. Come on, don't get distracted, attack. Remember this is a fight. Give your all and attack me. Don't hesitate. Trust in yourself and never give up. Fight to the end. Naruto said, putting away his sword. Both young men launched themselves at each other and engaged in a fight of blows which the young woman did not handle very well. Each blow she threw was easily blocked by the blonde and he still had not launched any attack. Come on Hinata, I know you can do better. Said Naruto dodging the blows. Inspired by her master's words and the confidence he gave her, she attacked with various combinations of ice, water and wind attacks, in addition to her taijutsu. After almost 10 minutes, the girl began to despair and began to concentrate chakra in her hand. A Rasengan formed and began to form a shuriken that increased in size with each moment. Hinata launched herself at the blonde who dodged the deadly attack, and after an explosion that was felt in the village, Naruto fell to the ground with Kaori in his arms and looked at the great wall of dust that had risen, the smoke dissipated, and the Hyuga came out very tired looking at the blonde. Impressive, you almost got me with that. Naruto said, very impressed, then lowered his head, somewhat thoughtful. What's going on? Hinata said, very worried when she saw the boy's expression. It's just that the first time I did that technique I hurt my hand and you did it perfectly. I think I feel left out, Naruto said, his eyes closed. But it was you who taught it to me, that's why I did so well. Said Hinata very nervously. Come on, don't underestimate yourself, you're good. Naruto said smiling, but then closed his eyes for a moment and looked at the Hyuga. Hinata-chan, could you take Kaori-chan to buy some clothes? It's just that I don't know anything about women's clothes or anything like that. He said a little embarrassed. Of course, Hinata said excitedly, then took the hand of the very happy girl. The blue-eyed blonde watched them walk away and then raised his hand as the Samehada sword that was leaning against a tree shot out at him. He caught it in the air and looked towards a tree that was a little far away from there. Uchiha Sasuke, what are you doing spying on me? Said Naruto looking at the tree. I want a rematch, I have to beat you, Sasuke said, coming out of the tree and looking defiantly at the mercenary. You know, now that I see you, I've come up with something very interesting, Naruto said, smiling maliciously. What? Said Sasuke looking seriously at the young man in front of him. Well, if you really want to avenge the Uchiha clan massacre, then I think you should know the whole truth about what really happened. Naruto said, smiling and staring at the black-haired man. What are you talking about? My brother killed them, Sasuke said very seriously. That's true and at the same time not. Come and sit down, we have many things to talk about. I assure you that when we finish your loyalty to this village will be over and you will have what you've always wanted, revenge. Said Naruto looking at the Uchiha. The black-haired man looked at him very surprised and confused by the mercenary's words. He approached him and sat with his back to the tree while the blonde man sat in front of him. This boy will be useful to me. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to completely destroy her or not, but one thing I'm sure of is that I'll get even for some of the things that were done to me in the past. Let's see how much loyalty this Uchiha has to his village after finding out about his family. Naruto thought as he looked amused as the black-haired man anxiously awaited his story. At that moment in a cave near the Rain village, a man with a mask and another with orange hair were looking at each other. How many bodies have you collected? Madara said, looking seriously at the other. 4, all very strong, but are you sure he's still alive? No one survives that poison. Sasori was still perfecting it and said that nothing in the world could resist it. Pain said very seriously. I'm sure we can't waste any more time, we have to recruit new members, we won't be able to use the bijus anymore, so we'll have to take power by force the old-fashioned way, Madara said very seriously. Next time, I'll finish that bastard off, Pain said, very annoyed. I think I'll have to use that resource, no way, that technique is too powerful, and I don't know if I can withstand it, but first I must go to Konoha to look for that scroll, well it's there I won't be able to get close, as soon as I leave I'll go immediately, maybe Pain can use it, but with that power he would kill me without hesitation, I must find someone stupid enough to be able to use it without killing themselves, and who doesn't represent a risk. Thought Madara very seriously and completely focused on his objective. Chapter 17. Dark Destiny. Chapter 17. Secret objective. What? Sasuke said, completely shocked by what he had just heard. As you heard, your brother did everything to protect the village and the world, if what your clan wanted to do had been successful, everything would have been chaos, after the Kyubis attacked this village was very weak, and little by little it began to regain strength, if your clan had carried out a coup, there would have been chaos within the village and the country, easily any other village would have taken advantage, and would have razed Konoha in the blink of an eye. That was all that happened. Said Naruto staring at the black-haired man. That's not possible, Sasuke said, unable to believe what he was hearing. The truth hurts no, the Sandaime is a good guy, he kept everything a secret to avoid problems, and tried everything he could to keep the Uchihas calm, but it was in vain, they were blinded by power, they wanted to command although I don't know why, they were the most feared and respected clan not only in this village, but in the world, they had a privileged position in the village, they commanded all the other ninjas, and only received direct orders from the Hokage and the council members. I don't know what more they wanted, the old man tried to avoid a tragedy, but by not taking a definitive position on the problem the council members ordered Itachi to finish off the clan, if you ask me it was the best thing that could have happened, of course it was a disgrace, but if your clan's coup had been successful a war would have occurred and the number of lives lost would have been astronomical. Said Naruto a little seriously. Is that supposed to make me feel better? That my brother massacred the clan for the greater good? Should I resign myself to the fact that my clan deserved it and stay calm? Sasuke said desperately, while some tears struggled to leave his eyes. I don't know, the elders did it to protect the village, or at least that's what they wanted to believe, Naruto said, closing his eyes. The former Hokage had something to do with it, Sasuke said, his gaze lost in thought. No, that old man is a good person, too good, he always tried to prevent something like that from happening, he negotiated with your clan several times and offered them money and many other things, but nothing, they wanted power, in the end it was the council who made the decision behind his back, Danzu, Kaheru and Homura, those three elders are responsible for all your misfortune. Said Naruto opening his eyes and staring at the young man. What should I do? Sasuke said, completely devastated. Good question, they are responsible for the death of your parents, to tell the truth I think they went a bit too far, if what they wanted to do was avoid the coup d'etat, it would have been enough for Itachi to finish off the strongest or at least the strongest men and women, but finishing off the children and the Uchihas who were civilians or old, well, that's a bit exaggerated. Said Naruto a little thoughtfully. I'm going to kill them, Sasuke said angrily. That's what I wanted to hear, Naruto said, smiling maliciously. Why are you telling me all that? Obviously it's not a lie because you neither gain nor lose anything by telling me, so why are you doing it? Sasuke said, looking at the blonde. You're not going to help Konoha in the war, that's for sure. He said very seriously. Of course not, if I'm honest, no village is going to win this war, Naruto said, smiling maliciously. What are you talking about? Sasuke said, very serious and attentive to what the blonde was saying. It's simple, when all the nations come into conflict and attack each other, my group will attack each and every one of the ninja villages, and we will gain total control of all of them, Naruto said, smiling calmly. Don't tell me, how are you supposed to accomplish such a feat? Said Sasuke very seriously. You don't just wake up one day and say today I'm going to conquer the world, do you? These things take time and preparation, which I've already done. My group was the one who started this war. I have spies everywhere and they have very good contacts that are on our side. The Sand Village is already ours, as is the Land of Wind, the Land of Snow and its village, the Rain Village, the Star Village are also ours, as is the Land of Waves. As soon as Akatsuki ceases to exist, I will give the order for my people to do their part and for the war to begin. Once that happens, the world will be ours. Naruto said, smiling calmly. I can't believe it, everyone, the 5 great ninja nations and all, you're actually being serious, Sasuke said, surprised. Actually, we won't conquer everything. To tell the truth, my original idea regarding Konoha is a little different from the rest. I don't plan on conquering Konoha, I plan on destroying it completely. Naruto said very seriously. Really? Said Sasuke staring at the blonde. Initially that was my intention. You see, my stay in this village in my childhood was not very good. If you saw my memories you will know why. With such good memories of this place, it was obvious that I was going to try something against it when I grew up, but I am not stupid. I was going to do things right. First I would weaken it, and then I would raise it without leaving anyone alive, but lately I found out some things that are calling my attention," said Naruto a little seriously. "What do you mean?" said Sasuke looking seriously at the blonde. "How my father died, what happened to my mother, how much the old man suffered when I left, and that not all the villagers hated me, just some idiots let themselves be brainwashed and attack me for no reason. At that time I believed that everyone was bad, and since the only thing I received was blows and mistreatment from everyone, well, my opinion was that everyone should pay, although lately I realized that in this place there are people who deserve to live," said Naruto a little thoughtfully. "And what do you plan to do?" Sasuke said, somewhat surprised. "I haven't decided yet, I'm just thinking about what I should do. I have two options. Destroy Konoha or conquer it, one of the two," Naruto said, a little thoughtfully. "Why are you telling me all this?" Sasuke said a little seriously. "It's simple, since I had no intention of returning to this village, at least not until I destroyed it, and since my plans were to finish it and not conquer it, I do not have any spy inside this village, so I want you to help me. If you do I will let you kill the members of the council and the old Hokage, only with him I want you to do something. With those of the council do what you want, kill them, torture them, it's your decision. Only with the old man, not. I want you to kill him quickly and painlessly, preferably without him even realizing what happened, but that only when I give the order. In addition to that I can give you power, more than you have dreamed of in your entire life," said Naruto very seriously. The black-haired man remained silent and thoughtful for a few moments and then looked at the blonde very seriously. "Okay, I'll help you. Those bastards will pay for what they did to my family," Sasuke said, very serious and determined. "We have a deal then," said Naruto, stretching out his hand just like the Uchiha. "If I can avenge my clan, I'll do anything," said Sasuke very seriously. "Welcome then to Shai no Cage," Naruto said smiling. "What do we have to do?" Sasuke said, looking at the blonde. "First increase your powers, then we'll see," Naruto said, a little thoughtfully. "Let's do it," Sasuke said, staring at the Jinchuriki. "Alright, let's get started," said Naruto, walking to the Uchiha. Both went to the black-haired man's house, where the blonde did the same as with Hinata, increasing her chakra, strength and other things, in addition to giving her countless lightning and fire techniques. The information and effort made the black-haired man faint. Naruto left the house to meet with Hinata and little Kaori. He walked for a while until he found them in a store where they had bought a lot of clothes for the little girl. The blonde paid the bill, and after eating a little, they said goodbye to the Hyuga who had to return home. The blonde and his protege returned to the hotel and began to eat a little. "Nai-san, Hinata-san told me that you are very strong, that you are helping her become stronger. She told me that you are a very powerful ninja," said Kaori, looking at the blonde with admiration. "Seriously, he does respect me, but I'm not really a ninja. I'm a mercenary, or rather, an assassin," Naruto said, a little seriously. "But killing people is bad, the ones you kill are bad, right?" Kaori said, a little seriously. "I don't know, after all, people aren't good or bad," Naruto said, a little seriously. "How so?" said Kaori, staring at the blonde. "Well, people usually say that someone is good or bad, but the truth is that no one is good or bad. We all have a little bit of good and bad, at least it all depends on the point of view you have. There are people who hurt others, but they still have people they love. No one in the world is totally good or completely bad, that is an absolute truth," said Naruto very seriously. How many people have you killed?" said Kaori, looking closely at the blonde. "I'm not sure, I've never kept count, but it must be several hundred or maybe thousands, I'm not sure," Naruto said very seriously. "Amazing, so you are really strong," Kaori said, surprised. "A little, at least I haven't been defeated in battle yet. Well, go to sleep. In a few days, you and I will go to the land of waves. There, we will find you a good family," Naruto said, stroking the little girl's head. "I have to focus on my mission. Once I take care of Akatsuki I must decide what to do with Konoha and its villagers, destroy them or conquer them. I must choose some options soon," Naruto thought very seriously. Chapter 18. Dark Destiny. Chapter 18. Deadly Confrontation. A young man dressed completely in black with a sword covered in bandages tied on his back walked next to a little girl with long black hair. She seemed quite happy while he was somewhat thoughtful. While they walked all the people looked at them in amazement. "Kyubi-sama is going to scold me when he gets back," Naruto thought half-heartedly. "I should be less nice to children," he thought as he looked back. Behind the blue-eyed blonde and the little girl there were at least a dozen children following them, smiling and excited. All of them had old and worn clothes and looked a little dirty. In the distance he saw how the ramen place was open. Outside of it, he saw the young brown-haired cook talking to a black-haired shinobi who hid his face behind a mask. "Why am?" the shinobi said, looking at the young woman. "Haru-kun, I already told you, I realized I don't love you, don't make this any harder than it already is," Am said somewhat seriously. "As you wish," said the ninja, a little seriously, as he left the place. As she walked, she saw the blonde boy heading toward the restaurant, followed by the army of children. The group arrived at the restaurant and entered. The young woman barely saw the blonde boy and felt her heartbeat out of control and her cheeks flush. "Hello, Am," Naruto said with a somewhat malicious yet seductive voice. Hello, Am said nervously. "I need several orders of ramen," Naruto said, looking at the business owner. "How many?" the man said, looking at the blonde. "Well, let's see, there are 19 of us, so that would be about 2 pretty big plates for each of us, plus what I'm going to eat, about 80. Said Naruto, looking at the man in front of him. "Oh, 80? Said the man, a little surprised. "Yes, and make it quick," Naruto said somewhat seriously. After hard work and almost endless minutes, both the owner of the business and his daughter were sitting on chairs very tired, while the children ate as if there was no tomorrow, although nothing compared to how the blonde ate, who practically finished each plate in thousandths of a second. While this was happening in the Hokage Tower, the current leader of the village, her predecessor, the council members, Danzu, the clan leaders and a few renowned shinobi, were sitting at a large table. "I'm sure," Danzu said, looking at the others. "It's true that the boy has shown some sympathy for my daughter, but that doesn't mean I can offer her hand in marriage," Hiashi said, a little seriously. "I don't think it's that far-fetched, we had already considered the possibility that we could integrate him into some clan, and who better than the Hyuga. Hinata-sama seems to show a certain type of liking to Naruto-sen's company, we could use that as an advantage in our favor, if we manage to get him to fall in love with her, or at least to gain his friendship, we will be one step closer to achieving his collaboration," said Danzu very seriously. "I understand your point, but I have a better idea," said one of the clan leaders. "Which one?" Sarutobi said, looking at the man. "Well, there are several ninjas your age in this village. They could try to gain your friendship and see what they can accomplish. The more there are, the greater the chances of success," the man said, a little seriously. "I don't know," said Sarutobi a little seriously. "There aren't many options," said another, equally serious. Meanwhile, at the restaurant, the children had finished eating, as had the blonde boy, whom many people were looking at, but despite his fame or what they knew about him, there was something that caught their attention at that moment. How the hell could she eat so much without gaining weight? I glanced at the young woman serving the place, and she shuddered a little when she felt his gaze on her. Her red eyes were now blue, but that didn't take away from their appeal. "Do you have anything to do tonight?" Naruto said, looking at her in a malicious and somewhat perverse way. No, nothing," said Am very nervously. "Perfect, I'll pick you up at 9, Naruto said, getting up, leaving several coins behind and, without waiting for a reply, leaving the store followed by the battalion of children who looked at him in awe. The owner of the establishment saw how the young man with golden hair disappeared from his sight and looked at his daughter who was completely stunned and astonished. She didn't seem to react until she gave a small scream and ran out to her house at full speed. "Father, I'm going to change. You take care of the place," Am said, running very quickly. "What the hell," the man said, a little seriously. "She just broke up with her boyfriend for him, but he only got here a few days ago," he said, a little confused. The young man looked at the group of children following him and, making some seals, created a shadow clone that, before saying anything, sped off to the Hokage Tower while he sat down in a chair. "Are you sure you want to come with me to the land of waves?" Naruto said, looking at the children, who nodded enthusiastically. After a few minutes he stood up with a smile as he received the information from his clone. They walked to an abandoned training area. It was full of stones, broken logs and a lot of garbage. He looked at it from one side to the other and created a dozen clones. After a few minutes the area was completely clean and the clones were discarded. Naruto made a series of seals and placed both hands on the ground. At that moment hundreds of branches came out of the ground. There were many and they were taking the shape of a large wooden house. The children looked at each other in wonder as the blonde man made about 100 clones. They left for the village while he sat next to the children. Soon the clones returned along with a large amount of furniture and other equipment. In a short time, the place was like a kind of hotel with several rooms and fully equipped. "Very well, that will do," said Naruto a little seriously. The mini army ran into their new home screaming and laughing, while the Jinchuriki looked at them. After a couple of minutes in which more clones arrived with clothes and such, he went to the patio of the house and created a pool for them to bathe in and went straight to a room and lay down to rest a little. At dusk, the blonde left a couple of clones guarding the house and went out to his date with his favorite cook. Although it couldn't be considered a date as such, it was better than the brunette expected, especially when she spent the night in the mercenary's new house. When she got home she lay down on the bed with a smile and such exhaustion that as soon as she lay down she fell deeply asleep. In the morning the blonde had already gotten up and had finished putting on his usual clothes, while in the village things were very calm until a terrible explosion in the middle of it unleashed terror. His eyes widened at the explosions, and he looked out the window. The amount of explosions was overwhelming, and he could feel a large amount of extremely high chakra in that place. Suddenly 6 figures appeared in front of his house, all of them were covered by black cloaks with red clouds. He could only recognize one of them, and when he saw the eyes of the others, he could realize who it was. "Pain," Naruto said, looking at the Rinnegan user in front of his house. "Naruto Naichin," Kaori said, entering her protector's room with some of the children. "Stay here and don't leave under any circumstances. I'll take care of him," Naruto said, jumping out the window and standing face to face with the Akatsuki. A large number of ninjas gathered around the rogue ninjas and watched them waiting for the opportunity to attack. Most of the shinobi in the village realized that the Akatsukas weren't even looking at them, it was as if they weren't there and were just staring at the mercenary. "It's incredible you survived the poison," said one of the pain, looking at the blonde. "I'm not easy to kill," Naruto said with a somewhat malicious smile. "This is going to be very complicated. Without Kyubi-sama my chakra is halfway down and it took me a lot of work to defeat this guy before, this isn't going to be easy at all," Naruto thought as he looked at his opponents. "How about we fight back there? There's no one around and they won't interrupt us. What do you say?" Naruto said, pointing toward a nearby mountain. "As you wish," said another pain as they all disappeared. "Naruto wait, you won't have any problems with them, you're not fully recovered yet," said Saratobi who had just arrived at the place. "This is my mission, old man, so it's best if you don't interfere. I'm sorry to say, but no one here is a match for them, so if you send someone, they'll die. Let me take care of them. I have something to settle with that guy," Naruto said as he disappeared. Appearing in front of his opponents, he looked at the place. It was a completely deserted valley, there were no trees or anything, just a few large stones and rocks. "This guy is no normal ninja, if I'm going to fight him I'll have to be serious, if I'm careless he might kill me, well, that's better, I was hoping to have a fight against someone really strong, this will be entertaining," Naruto thought as he stared intently at the 6 ninjas in front of him. Final chapter. Arc Destiny. Chapter 19. Mortal Kombat. Silence, caution, security was what each of those present on the battlefield transmitted without hesitation, blinking or any involuntary movement, both looked at each other attentively and studied each other. The blue-eyed blonde man looked at the 6 men in front of him, each of them dressed the same as the others, they all wore black robes with red clouds and identical eyes. The Akatsukas took out black daggers from their robes and slowly began to surround the blue-eyed man, who only stuck the great sword of the deceased Akatsuki swordsman into the ground while he drew his sword and placed himself in a combat stance. Somewhat far away inside the village, the former village leader and the current Hokage looked in the direction where the ninjas of unimaginable abilities were gathered. The blonde looked at her former mentor, only to see the concern and anguish she felt. It was more than obvious that they weren't at the level to be able to fight against the Akatsuki, but doing nothing and not knowing what was happening was simply irritating and desperate. She looked at a ninja wearing a cat mask, who, upon feeling his leader's gaze, looked at her and then nodded, performed a series of seals, and instantly a kind of mist appeared in front of them, and in the middle of it, the place where the contenders were could be seen. It was just the right moment, as when the images became visible to them, they saw the blonde stopping the thrust of one of the renegades, while another appeared behind him with a dagger ready to pierce his heart from behind his back. They almost lost their breath from the fright, only to see how with a force that was clearly greater than what anyone could have dreamed of, he hit the ground and propelled himself through the air, while sending the first of his attackers shooting like a bullet towards the one behind him, who nimbly dodged him while a third caught him in mid-flight. A fourth Akatsuki appeared above him, and a powerful flame came out of its mouth. Before the flames touched him he began to spin in the air, creating a gust of wind that caught the fire in a spiral and moved it away from him before they touched him. Another of the renegades jumped to attack him, but before he could attack the blonde created a clone and supporting himself with this jumped to one side while the clone caught the Akatsuki in the air and exploded in a huge explosion. The remains of the criminal fell to the ground while the other 5 watched as the blue-eyed man fell and stared at them. He raised his hand as a sphere began to form in his palm. The sphere suddenly produced some blades and increased in size until it formed a sort of oversized shuriken made entirely of chakra. He jumped as he launched a fearsome technique towards the group who skillfully dodged it. One of them saw how the attack spun and shot up into the sky. As it reached cloud level, the technique exploded, creating a series of whirlwinds of wind that fell to the ground and rapidly increased in size and strength. Very soon there were about 10 hurricanes spinning and destroying everything in their path. While the pain tried to dodge them, Naruto created another chakra sphere in his hand, and it took on a reddish color, and some flames appeared. He launched the technique towards the center of the place where the hurricanes were, and a large flame was created that mixed with them, forming some powerful hurricanes of fire. The Akatsuki now had more trouble dodging, and the blonde took advantage to create several clones that launched themselves against the renegades. One of them saw the clones and claws emerged from his hands while his figure changed, taking the form of a kind of werewolf. Digging his claws into the ground, he went out at full speed against the clones, eliminating them at a dizzying speed and hitting the original in the stomach, making the technique disappear. Before the blonde hit the ground, he received a powerful kick to the stomach and was caught by one of the Akatsuki, who was quite muscular as well as very large. He tried to free himself, but this body had a strength far superior to his own. The werewolf launched himself against him to swipe at him. Those from Konoha could only watch as the blonde was about to be torn to pieces by the half-beast. Hinata, who had just arrived and was hugging a little girl who looked very scared, looked horrified as the distance between the werewolf and the blue-eyed man was reduced to zero. Everyone was shocked to see white stakes stained with blood coming out of the backs of the werewolf and the muscular man. The stakes disappeared and Naruto was freed, while the two Akatsuki fell lifeless to the ground. From one of his hands you could see one of the stakes that seemed to be made of bone, which he pulled out from between his fingers. His hand fell limply until he finally moved it again seconds later. That's a technique from the Kagaya clan. I thought there were no more of them, but he's not from that clan. How could he do that? Pain thought as he watched a blue-eyed man grab his sword, which he had dropped when he was hit. Now, with two weapons in his hands, he looked at the three remaining Akatsuki. Damn, these guys are very strong. I thought I was halfway there, but I was wrong. I'm getting tired very quickly. I must finish this quickly. If I continue using the blood techniques without Kyubi-sama, I won't last long. Naruto thought very seriously. Without wasting time and with the bone sword in his left hand and the sword in his right, he launched himself against the renegades. One of them joined his hands, and the air became drier and drier. Naruto jumped back as a golden ray fell on the ground, destroying a large part of the ground and leaving a smoking crater. A series of lightning bolts fell in each place where the mercenary appeared and then disappeared, thus dodging the golden lightning. What kind of attack is that? Naruto whispered as he realized he couldn't get any closer to the renegades. Another of the renegades took out a kind of chain. It was shining at the tip, which looked like an arrow, as if it were a snake. The tip of the chain moved directly towards the blonde, who saw how the chain continued coming out of the Akatsuki's tunic, as if it had no end. The chain caught one of his feet as the lightning struck him. Hinata stifled a scream of horror at the amount of smoke that the attack raised. When it dispersed, a completely shattered and almost melted rock could be seen in the middle of the crater. One of the pain smiled as the three stood back to back, while each looking at a place. A great torrent of water shot from the sky. The three dodged it, while one of them was caught by hands that came out of the ground going underground. Naruto appeared above him and stuck the bone sword directly into his forehead. He didn't have time to dodge the chain that wrapped around his neck. While he tried to free himself, the missing Akatsuki launched itself at him with its dagger. Naruto closed his eyes, and to everyone's amazement, when he opened them, he had red eyes with 3 blades in them. The 3 joined together, forming a 3-bladed shuriken, and a burst of fire shot straight at the pain of the knife. He dodged the attack but moved away from the blonde who, taking advantage of the distraction, looked at the weapon that was stuck in the ground. The gigantic sword shot out at the blonde, who took it and twisted his body with great force while using the power and speed of the spin to cut the Akatsuki chain in two. The remaining pain joined his hands and some rocks began to float and shoot out at Naruto, who skillfully dodged the techniques. Exhaustion could be clearly seen on his face. Deciding that he could not last any longer like this, he launched himself at the pain that was attacking him, dodging the attacks while quickly approaching him. Before he could hit him, his body suddenly felt very heavy and he ended up on the ground struggling to get up. He was barely able to dodge the knife that was going for his heart and that stuck in his arm, causing him great pain. Suddenly, gravity shifted and he felt incredibly light. As he hovered in the air, the Akatsuki kicked him, sending him crashing into a rock. Sensing the danger, he tried to move, but it was too late. Pain was standing in front of him, the knife sticking into his abdomen. "You're finished," Pain said, looking at the blonde who kept his eyes closed. "Not yet," said Naruto, opening his eyes, and this time his eyes were completely white. Pain jumped back but could do nothing when the blue-eyed man, at an incalculable speed and with his hands moving so fast that it seemed like he had more arms, struck almost simultaneously the main chakra points of the Akatsuki, and finally a blow with a large amount of chakra straight to the heart of the renegade, stopping him in the act. The Akatsuki was about to fall lifeless to the ground, but before that the blonde grabbed him by the head and bit his neck. Instantly the blue-eyed man's eyes changed to grey with several spirals in them. He released the renegade's body, who fell heavily to the ground and fell to his knees at his side. His mouth had some blood and he quickly realized that one of his lungs was punctured. "I can't take it anymore," Naruto said as he felt his strength draining away. At this image Sarutobi looked at his successor who already knew exactly what to do. At full speed they shot out and reached the unconscious blue-eyed girl. The blonde stood by his side and using her knowledge and skills, managed to stop the bleeding. "I closed his wound, but his chakra reserves are depleted. I don't know if he'll survive. Besides, it seems the poison hasn't left his system yet," Tsunade said very seriously. "I thought you had already cured him of that," Sarutobi said, staring at his successor. "Me too, but it seems that poison stayed in his system and thanks to the physical exertion he made, it manifested again. We can keep him in the hospital, but I'm not sure he'll survive," Tsunade said seriously. At this, the former Hokage looked helplessly at the blonde. He had failed to protect him when he was a child and had left him to fight alone against an extremely strong enemy. He had failed miserably in the only request that the blonde's father had made. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.